Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll? Here.
Councilman Palmer.
Here.
Councilman Cotton.
Here.
Councilwoman Robinette. Here. Councilman Lipton.
Here.
Councilman Williams. Absent. Mayor Jones.
Here.
I have texted Councilman Williams, so if he answers, I will let you all know.
Okay, a quorum is present. At this time of the workshop, I would like to turn it over to City Manager Hampton.
Mayor, Council, thank you for joining us tonight. We got a couple things to go over. Obviously the ordinances, and also we're gonna primarily be here. Primarily reason we're here is for John Hughes, our finance director, to go over how we create the budget. And if you have questions, you know, this is more of a learning session. So the numbers that are in your packet are this year's budget. They're not the ones that we're currently going to be presenting in May. Okay. Also joining us tonight is Marlene, and she works with John in the finance department. She's the assistant finance director.
Nice to meet you.
At this time, we'll go over the packet John has brought first with the budget, and I'll turn the floor over to John Hughes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Before I start on that, there's a follow-up to the CIP presentation. Excuse me, when you were asking what the CTS energy bond was for, I called Jeff Bloom and spoke with him, and he explained that he couldn't remember the name of the company, but they did an energy audit, provided recommendations for improvement projects that they guaranteed would save us more money than what it would cost to do the projects. To the best of his memory, those projects included insulation and windows at Firehouse 2, retrofitting all lighting in the City Hall back parking lot, retrofitting all lighting on Florissant Road from Chambers to the city limit down near Woodstock, and replace all the City Hall windows. He wasn't sure if replacing the front and back doors at City Hall was part of this project, and there were no projects at the garage nor at parks that were included in this. So that was the follow-up to that. And then to start with the new stuff for tonight, there's a summary of significant accounting policies, and then there is a summary of the significant budgetary procedures. And then there are examples of the format of the presentation of the budget. As we mentioned before, it's not the budget we're working on now. This is the budget we did a year ago. So I'll try to go through this rather quickly, and let me know if I'm going too fast or if you have questions. City of Ferguson was incorporated in November 12th, 1984, operates under City Manager Council Home Rule Charter form of government. Present charter was adopted February 3rd of 1998. Services provided by the city to its I forgot to update the number of residents.
18,527.
18,527.
Gee, just whip that number right off the top of your head.
Thank you, Mayor.
I know it's hard.
Apparently.
So services provided include public safety, police and fire, street maintenance and improvements, culture and recreation, public improvements, planning and zoning, and general governmental services. General purpose financial statements of the city have, the general purpose financial statements of the city have been prepared in conformity with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles, otherwise known as GAAP, as applied to government units. The Government Accounting Standards Board, GASB, is the accepted standard setting body for establishing governmental accounting and financial reporting principles. More significant of the city's accounting policies are described below. So the financial reporting entity, the city defines its financial reporting entity in accordance with provisions established by GASB. GASB requires for inclusion of component units are primarily based upon whether the city's governing body has any significant amount of financial accountability for potential component units, The city is financially accountable if it appoints a voting majority of a PCU's governing body and is able to impose its will on that PCU. Or there's a potential for the PCU to provide specific financial benefits to or impose specific financial burdens on the city. Based on these criteria, the city has determined that its financial reporting entity consists of the city, the primary government, and no component units.
In English?
Um, so the city is its own entity,
Okay,
and all the accounting principles and whatnot can say, well, this or the other organization is so closely intertwined with you that you need to report that on your financial statements as part of the city.
okay,
We don't have any of
okay.
that. Fund accounting. I'm sorry.
But if we did, then
Yeah.
that's what we would do. Gotcha.
The city uses funds and account groups to report its financial position and results of operations. Fund accounting is designed to demonstrate legal compliance and to aid financial management by segregating transactions related to certain government functions or activities. A fund is a separate accounting entity, accounting entity with a self-balancing set of accounts. An account group is a financial reporting device designed to provide accountability for certain assets and liabilities that are not recorded in the funds because they do not directly affect net expendable available financial resources. Basically, you've got a bucket for different types of money. Parks has its own revenue, so and it's restricted. It can only be spent on parks or certain allocations. So they have to have their own set of books. So on the statements, when you see all the different columns, those are going to be either different funds or different groups of smaller funds. That's the English on that. Funds are classified into 3 categories: governmental, proprietary, and fiduciary. Each category in turn is divided into separate fund types. So the governmental fund types. Governmental funds are those through which most governmental functions of the city are financed. The acquisition, use, and balance of the city's expendable financial resources and related liabilities are accounted for through governmental funds. The city reports the following fund types. The general fund is primary operating fund of the city. It is used to account for all financial resources except those required to be accounted for in another fund. Basically, a government will always have a general fund, and if there aren't other restrictions, then it'll only have a general fund. The Parks Fund is used to account for the proceeds of the average of 19.8 cents per $100 value in which is levied on all property within the city for the purpose of providing public park facilities and account for the expenditure for recreational and park purposes and for the revenues derived from recreational program fees. The park fund also is used to account for the 1/2 cent park and stormwater sales tax that was approved by voters in November of 2004. In adopting the legislation locally and placing the measure before the voters of the city of Ferguson, the Ferguson City Council chose to use the 0.5% sales tax strictly for park improvement purposes. So that 1/2 cent sales tax and that portion of the property tax that we receive from the county is restricted to parks and allocations that are allowed to be made out of parks. Special Business District Fund is a special revenue fund that is used to account for the proceeds of a special business license tax levied on all businesses within specified boundaries of the Ferguson Station Special Business District and for expenditures of said proceeds for the purpose of improving, promoting, and attracting new businesses to the district. Sewer Lateral Fund is a special revenue fund that is used to account for the proceeds of the $28 annual fee levied on all residential property of 6 or less dwelling units for the repair of sewer lateral service lines and for expenditures of said proceeds for repairing such lines. Downtown TIF redevelopment fund is a capital projects fund established to account for the payments in lieu of taxes and the incremental economic activity taxes received in the downtown TIF district used to finance downtown redevelopment activities. The local improvement fund is a capital projects fund that was established and is maintained in accordance with the city charter. Fund consists of the original bond issue, which established the fund, subsequent transfers from general revenue, and interest on those funds. The $200,000 proceeds of the original bond issue may not be withdrawn from this fund and may be used only to finance special assessments for public improvements.
I don't see EDST in here. Is that not a separate fund?
That is. Did I not?
No, you didn't put it in.
Yeah, there is a separate.
Okay, so
Fund
that
for
should be
EDST.
item G in that first section.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Fiduciary fund types, trust and agency funds include the pension trust fund, which is accounted for in essentially the same manner as proprietary funds, since capital maintenance is critical, and agency funds, which are custodial in nature and do not involve the measurement of results of operations. City retains no equity interest in the agency funds. And the bail bond fund is the one, and then, as it mentioned, the pension trust fund. So basically what they're saying is we don't increase the city's fund balance of expendable funds through these funds.
Can I-
Yeah,
I've never heard of a bail bond fund.
it's the courts.
Oh.
The courts have that when people pay their bonds or whatnot,
Their bail?
it goes into a fund that we don't get to spend that money.
Okay, so we've never seen it on the budget in the past. It's never been part of the budget line items or anything like that.
Does, I think courts has a budget, maybe not a separate fund.
So if somebody forfeits a bond, then it gets transferred from the bond fund to the general fund?
I'm not exactly sure on that. I don't know if we get to keep it or if it goes to the state. I'm not.
That's a good question.
So the bail bond fund would be part of the books of the courts.
Yeah.
Okay, and when we do our budget, the courts part of it is a very like in the small part. I mean, it's like we're
It's in there.
stressing, it's out, and it's in there, but we're stressing over other things. But I don't remember ever seeing that. That's why I asked Heather and she kind of shook her head too. So I was surprised to see this. So the question that you asked is if they forfeit their bond, who gets the money? It's kind of
Yeah.
what we want to know.
I'll get you an answer.
That to me reminds me of the money that, you know, like when we have a seizure with the police and they seize properties and we sell that,
That's true.
that goes to the city.
I think
It
it's all
goes
goes
to the police department so they could spend it.
Right, it kind of reminds me of that.
Okay. We haven't had none in a while.
Yeah.
Says 2020.
All right, measurement, focus, basis of accounting and financial statement presentation. Accounting and financial reporting treatment applied to a fund is determined by its measurement focus. All governmental funds are reported using the economic resources measurement focus. With this measurement focus, revenues are recognized as soon as they are both measurable and available. Revenues are considered to be available when they are collectible within the current period or soon enough thereafter to pay liabilities of the current period. For this purpose, the government considers revenue to be available if they are collected within 60 days of the end of the current fiscal period. Expenditures generally are recorded when a liability is incurred as under accrual accounting. However, debt service expenditures as well as expenditures related to claims and judgments and compensated absences are recorded only when payment is due, basically when we pay it. Property tax, what's it? Yeah. Property taxes, sales taxes, franchise taxes, and interest associated with the current fiscal period are all considered to be susceptible to accrual and so have been recognized as revenues of the current fiscal period. All other revenue items are considered to be measurable and available only when cash is received by the government. This includes licenses and permits, charges for services, fines and forfeitures, and miscellaneous revenues.
Those fines and forfeitures.
Yes. Cash, cash equivalents, and investments. Cash and cash equivalents include amounts in demand and time deposits, as well as short-term investments with a maturity date within 3 months of the date acquired. Statutes authorize the city to invest in obligations of U.S. Treasury and agencies and instrumentalities and repurchase agreements. In addition, the pension trust fund is authorized to invest in commercial paper, corporate bonds, and corporate stocks. Investments exclusive of those held in the pension trust fund are carried at no cost, which
Cost or no?
carried at cost, I'm sorry, which approximates fair value. Pension trust fund investments are carried at fair value. No investments are reported at amortized cost. The city has investment policies for both the pension trust fund and all governmental funds excluding debt service funds. The investment policy for the governmental funds, which excludes the pension trust fund, the Halls Ferry Tip Fund, and the Splash Debt Service Fund, those last two are not around anymore, was established to minimize the following types of risk by performing the steps below. Credit risk is the risk that an issuer or other counterparty to an investment will not fulfill its obligation. The city minimizes credit risk by pre-qualifying the financial institutions, broker-dealers, intermediaries, and advisors with which the city will do business. Diversifying the portfolio so that the potential losses on individual securities will be minimized. Interest rate risk is the risk that changes in interest rates will adversely affect the fair value of an investment. Investments held for longer periods are subject to increased risk of adverse interest rate changes. The city minimizes interest rate risk by structuring the investment portfolio so that securities mature to meet cash requirements for ongoing operations, thereby avoiding the need to sell securities on the open market prior to maturity, or investing operating funds primarily in shorter term securities. Basically, you hold them till maturity. Concentration of credit risk is the risk of loss attributed to the magnitude of the city's investment in a single issuer. The city minimizes concentration of credit risk by diversification. Custodial credit risk for deposits is a risk that in the event of a bank failure, the city's deposits may not be returned or the city will not be able to recover collateral securities in the possession of an outside party. The city's bank deposits are required by state law to be secured by the deposit of certain securities specified at RSMO 30, whatever, with the city or trustee institution. The value of the securities must amount to the total of the city's cash not insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation.
Do we have
So
anything not insured?
Basically, no, I don't think we do, but if you go over the $250,000 per bank,
FDIC.
yeah, if you go over the FDIC, then they securitize. So they buy other stuff to back it up.
Okay.
Fund equity. Governmental funds report reservations of fund balance for amounts that are not available for appropriation or are legally restricted by outside parties for use for a specific purpose. Encumbrances. Encumbrances represent commitments related to unperformed contracts for goods or services. Encumbrance accounting, under which purchase orders, contracts, and other commitments for the expenditure of monies are recorded in order to reserve that portion of the applicable appropriation is employed as an extension of formal budgetary integration in the governmental fund types. Encumbrances outstanding at year end are reported as reservations of fund balances since they do not constitute expenditures or liabilities. All unexpended and unencumbered annual appropriations lapsed at year end.
Can you give an example of that?
So you have something that you have ordered, you have committed to purchase or pay for. You have an agreement with a vendor that they're gonna do the work or supply the goods, but it hasn't transpired yet.
Okay,
The transaction is agreed upon to happen in the future. So it's not an expenditure, but you're basically liable for it because of the contract. All right, summary of significant budgetary procedures, the budget components. The following budget is intended to present a complete financial plan for the coming budget year, not the following the budget, and includes the following information. A budget message describing the important features of the budget and major changes from the preceding year. Estimated revenues to be received from all sources for the budget year, with a comparative statement of actual or estimated revenues for the preceding 2 years, itemized by year, fund, and source. Proposed expenditures for each department and division for the budget year, together with a comparative statement of actual or estimated expenditures for the preceding 2 years, itemized by year, fund, activity, and object of expenditure. The amount required for the payment of interest, amortization, and redemption charges on any debt of the city, and a general budget summary. The budget basis. Budgets are prepared on a basis consistent with GAAP, except that encumbered amounts are treated as expenditures for budgetary purposes. Annual appropriated budgets are adopted for the general, park, special business district, special revenue, sewer lateral special revenue, local improvement capital projects, and capital improvement sales tax capital projects funds. Budget preparation procedures. Before the end of March of each year, all departments of the city submit requests for appropriations to the city manager. After review of these requests, the proposed annual operating budget is prepared by fund, function, and department. The proposed budget is submitted in May to the city council for review. City council holds at least one public hearing and may add to, subtract from, or change appropriations. Prior to June 30th of each year, council adopts by resolution the budget as revised for the fiscal year beginning the following July 1st. Budget amendment process. Legal budgetary control is at the departmental level. Any transfers of budgeted amounts from one department to another require the approval of the city council. Funds are appropriated in the general fund budget for general contingencies in an amount not to exceed 5% of the operating budget. Transfers for unplanned expenditures may be made from the contingency account to departmental budgets with city manager approval. Budgeted amounts are as originally adopted or as amended by the city council or city manager as appropriate. Supplemental appropriations are made to cover large unanticipated items. Budget, balanced budget. The proposed budget and any revised budget must conform to the statutory requirement that the total proposed expenditures from any fund shall not exceed the estimated revenues to be received, including debt issuances, transfers from other funds, and advances from other funds, plus any unencumbered balance or less any deficit estimated from the beginning of the budget year. Fiscal year begins July 1st, runs through June 30th. The city council must, before the beginning of the fiscal year, approve the budget and take such additional action as may be required to produce the revenues estimated in the budget. That's the explanation. And then we have pages that follow that are examples of what it just talked about. So page 7 is the combined statement of revenues and expenditures and fund balance of all funds. So you've got your columns right below that. You've got 22 actual, 23 forecasted a year ago. Those differences, 24 budget from a year ago, and then the difference between 24 budget and 23 forecast. So you've got your revenues, all the different types of revenues, and then your total revenues. You've got your expenditures for each fund or for various funds, then your total expenditures. And then you've got your surplus or deficiency and other financing sources and uses. And then you've got your change in fund balance, which is equivalent to your net profit of a business. Then you've got your fund balance at the beginning of the year. And then netted with the change in fund balance gives you the fund balance at the end of the year. On then page 8, it's got total expenditures, personnel and supplies and services by fund and department. Columns are similar. You've got 21 actual, 22 actual. That was a 23 budget and forecast and a 24 budget. And then the differences. And so it's got your general fund up top and the breakdown of each department. So the total for the general fund is there, and then the Parks Department, the Parks Fund, its departments are segregated. And there's the total for the parks, and there's your total personnel and supplies and services. Page 9 has expenditures by type and department for the general fund. So you've got your personnel for each department. And then you've got supplies and services for each department. And that total expenditures at the bottom.
What are the letters on the side? What are
The
they
numbers,
represent?
those are the fund numbers.
No, on the A, B, C, F, A, F, F, on the right side.
Where's that?
Oh, yeah, we haven't quite figured that out yet.
I don't.
There are similarities
Yeah, we've been looking.
and
I don't
so
remember seeing
it-
that on the budget last year.
A looks like administrative. B looks like, well, B doesn't make any sense. Municipal court, code enforcement, police and fire. I don't know how those would group
Yeah,
together.
we haven't been able to.
All right, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the numbers. So.
No.
Right. Skip page 10. Page 11 is the statement of revenues and expenditures and fund balance for the general fund only. So you got your revenues and then your expenditures, the excess, then other financing sources, the transfers, and if you had any bonds that were issued. And then, so you've got your change in fund balance again there, and then fund balance beginning and end of the year.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So, why do we have parks in the general fund? I understand if you're doing the employees, you know, like personnel is in the general fund, but there's a park line item. And,
I can answer.
okay, yay.
So the parks that you see in the general fund is actually for the parks maintenance. So we do a transfer from the parks fund to account for all the maintenance that Public Works does.
Okay.
So it goes back to Public Works, so it's easier for accounting purposes because they're shared staff and resources. But that's why you see the transfer at the bottom, transfer from parks. That $684,000 last year was to cover the salaries and everything else that was budgeted towards Public Works for the work.
Okay, so you put it in the general fund and then
It offsets it.
yeah, okay.
So basically, when you look at the total budget, there's account 1071, that's parks maintenance.
Yeah.
If it was strictly parks, it would be labeled 2071, because 20 is the parks
That
fund.
was the fund.
And
Yeah,
so we
okay.
transfer back whatever that's gonna be out of the parks fund back to general to cover those
Okay,
expenses.
yeah, I hadn't seen it in that, like that before. I just always assumed parks was part of the parks fund, so.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, this transfer from sewer laterals, is that how much we spent? I mean, what is throughout the year for the,
That was what we budgeted to spend for sewer laterals that year.
okay, that's what we budgeted. Okay.
All right, page 12. So this is an example of part of the budget breakdown that you'll see. This is the budget for revenues, which is 10-00. All the revenues go there. For the general fund. You got your different types of property taxes, intergovernmental licenses and permits, utility taxes, and then sales taxes. You got on the next page, fees and services, other income, fines and public safety, and then inspection fees, and then your total at the bottom. Page after that is example of the council. So one department, here is your budget for on page 14. For council division 10-10. You've got your personnel and then your supplies and services and your totals. So that's basically what you're allowed to spend. And then the next page, so this is all gonna be 10-10. You'll have your annual operating budget, your personnel summary page. It'll be one of these for each department. You got your number of employees, pay grades, the descriptions, and then a departmental description and activities at the bottom. Followed by the yellow pages are called B2s. These are the breakdown of page 14. So on page 14, expense 02032 training and education for the current year, all the way over to the right, there's $7,300 budgeted for the year. And the B2 gives a breakdown of what that $7,300 includes. And so there's one of these pages for every budgeted expense. So you got your 15,000, then 700, and they'll have the account number on them, explanations. You got your 1,000, 5,000. So you just keep going on and on and on. And that gives you the details of everything that's in the expenditures for council and the clerk, except they don't do a breakdown of personnel. Now, after that, on page 30, I gave an example of something that has project numbers. So if you go to page 31, at the bottom right there, those 4 zeros, that's the coding if something doesn't have its own project number. On page 32, there's a project number 1331. So there are separate breakdowns. So if we go back to 02294, on page 30, 02294, 2294, non-recurring authorized expenditures, go all the way over to the right, it's $345,000. So on page 31, it shows $345,000, 300 for one, 445 for the other, and then the following pages show how much is in each project number. So 1331 has the 300, and then on page
35.
35, 1334 project number has the other 45,000. That is,
And so we'll go through each department like that. We just, citywide, city council, and I'll go through police, fire, all the way above. And that's how we come up with the budget and present it. Anybody have any questions? Okay,
One.
so, thanks, continue, Mark. Continue.
Keep going.
All righty then. So we'll start off with the bill number 7272. This is with the, let me grab my paperwork on my. The liquor license. I believe it is, right? No, is this one the liquor?
Can we wait till Mike gets back? please?
Sure,
Sure.
I didn't see him step up.
We'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Insurance business license.
Hey, Dave, can you get my thing to work in
But
here?
I got it on my phone. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Marlene. for coming.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank.
Break time. Break time. Thank you. Okay.
Anybody else think last time?
It was automatic.
I'm in SOS mode.
Welcome to my life. Where do you save your settings? Oh, somebody folded. There it is.
SOS.
Wi-Fi.
We could maybe not do that.
Ladies, baby.
Now.
Hey, that's great.
Like that. Love mechanical pencils.
You and Stan Chrysler, both same boat.
Okay, we're ready to resume.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, Mayor.
Take your time.
Okay, so the first one is 7272. The ordinance amending certain sections within Division 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 42 of the Code Ordinance for the City of Ferguson relating to regulations of insurance of business license in the City of Ferguson. And this is for the property owner, if I'm not correct, right? Yes.
Tax status of the property.
Yeah, we just want to understand a little bit more of, you know, if a person is paying their right dues or the right rent, it sounds like we're punishing the business owner that's doing right, and that's our concern. If it's a landlord that's not paying their rent, I think we should go after the landlord and not the business themselves. And that's our fear. Obviously, these are our concerns and, you know, this is what we want to bring up. And, you know, we're already limited on the businesses that we do have, and we just don't want to chase out any more businesses.
Councilwoman Robinette and Councilman Castle.
Well, I understand, your reservation. However, if the owner of the building is not paying their taxes, I mean, there's a chance that they're going out of business. And I mean, like, commercial real estate all around, if the owner of the building goes out of business, the tenants inside are they're bust. I mean, like they have to find somewhere else. So we don't, it actually gives teeth to get them to pay the taxes and thereby keeping the tenant in there. So that's, I mean, that's how I view it. And especially when this came up, we had, how much got paid right away? Like tens of thousands got paid right away. So I think that, I mean, it's not a huge number of businesses that are, oh, thank you.
I was just coming over here, so I had a bad night, so.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all good.
Um, So, yes, I understand, but I think this gives, it helps the businesses more by giving teeth to the,
Understand.
I want to give a little perspective here. At this moment, we've got 21 tax delinquent businesses, commercial properties in the city of Ferguson. 5 of them are vacant. 14 of them are owner occupied. Although in some cases, the owner will have 2 LLCs, like the USA Market on Chambers, the liquor store down there. He's got one LLC for the business and another LLC for the real estate, but it's the same guy. So 14 out of the 19, 14 of the 21 are owner occupied, 5 are vacant. 2 of them are actual rental properties that might raise the concern that you're talking about. One of them is that huge strip mall on West Florissant, a couple of doors north of where McDonald's used to be, that's basically vacant, and it's 3 years and $109,000 tax delinquent. Those guys are probably walking away from the looks of it. And the only other rental tax delinquent real estate in Ferguson at the moment is the Family Dollar at the end of Ferguson Avenue on West Florissant. So we're mostly talking about owner occupants anyway. But in the case of rentals, you'd best believe that, you know, this bill provides that certified mail be sent to both the business owner and the landlord. You'd best believe that when Family Dollar gets that certified letter that their business license is not going to be renewed, that landlord's going to hear from their lawyers. And that's what we want. If somebody's paying rent, that landlord needs to be responsible. I understand a vacant buildings got no rent coming in, they wouldn't be affected by this anyway. So if you've got a tenant and that tenant's paying rent, you need to pay, we always talk about businesses need to pay their fair share. That's what this is.
Well, I think what we're trying to say, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead. Linda,
and I understand where everybody's coming from. What we're trying to say is those, in those strip malls or those other businesses where, say, the property owner doesn't pay, those people that were potentially shutting down are the people that are doing right and trying to do right and run their business correctly. That's our fear. And now we're shutting them down.
that they're
So-
gonna shut them down. What? Their landlord.
I guess what, maybe we should, it's something I guess we will have to work with the economic development is to ensure that they stay in Ferguson somehow. That these people don't pay their property tax or their taxes.
The landlords are gonna pay.
So the reality of the situation is, from what Nick just said, we don't have that many. We have 21. Okay, so that's the reality. So really 2, right? So right now, and we had more, but when we made notice that we were going to discuss this, others came forward and paid their bills, like the gas station over there off of Florissant. And they were, what, 4 years behind? Something like
The
that?
BP station, I think it's 3. They never let it go to 4 because then somebody can snatch their property.
But- My point is, first of all, is that when a business comes into Ferguson, let's say I want to see us pass this, we pass this, a business comes into Ferguson, they come in to get their business license. I think we need to have an information sheet or a helpful checklist. Have you discussed the situation if your landlord hasn't paid their property taxes? We suggest you write it in your contract. I mean, at this point, if we're gonna give them a business, maybe we help them understand what they can include in their contract, because a business owner, I know I would, I'm gonna say, if I have paid all of my taxes and you have not paid yours, I have legal recourse, or I can walk away from this situation. So, things like that can be written into a contract. The other thing I would say is, I mean, this is no different than if you don't pay Ameren for 3 years, guess what? You don't have any services. This is what the city of Ferguson is trying to say. You don't pay your fair share, you don't have a building. It's nothing harsher than sewer or trash or electric or any of those things. So I think that we have to start somewhere. Is it painful? Is it scary? Well, it's only scary if you aren't paying your bills. But if we start, we haven't been doing this for a long time. We've let businesses go for multiple years without paying. We've put the pressure and of not having the money and not having the ability to give services to our citizens. We've had them complain to us, we can't hire enough city workers to mow all the grass that they want. They're always complaining about different things like that. We allow those things to happen because we don't enforce the things that we can enforce. So we have a new team, we can enforce. You have a council that wants to give teeth to this. We only have it really truly affecting 2 people, and going forward, we inform the new business owners who are getting a license to have a little information, write it in your contract, and we set a new precedent.
Mike,
I just want to bring a few more points to, I had one question. Our business license is due in November, correct? So there's an 11-month grace period figured into this already. So taxes are due on December 31st. Business license doesn't come due till November, so they'd have 11 months to pay it. My second point is, I have never seen a commercial real estate contract that did not dictate who was responsible for the taxes or the insurance.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, like that strip mall, I'm not going to speak for them, but generally it's a triple net lease. Same with that Family Dollar. That tenant is actually paying the taxes and the insurance to the landlord, and the landlord's pocketing the money and not paying the tax bill. But that's the reason that is put in that commercial lease, because the tenant then has recourse with that landlord, and they could sue the owner of that building and say, you owe me for loss of business revenue because I cannot operate without a business license because you have not paid the taxes to do business.
And you can prove where you paid your portion.
Another point I want to make is we already require this of every liquor serving establishment in Ferguson. So this is simply holding everybody to the same standard. When Schnucks comes in to get liquor license renewal in May, so they have a 5-month grace period, their taxes have to be paid. When Montrese comes in, they have to have paid. The Brewhouse has to have paid. BP has to have paid. And some of those slipped through the cracks in the past, and we had caught those, and that's when they were basically put on notice that there's going to probably be a hearing if you don't pay. And they paid about 150 grand. They came in and paid it. I mean, we're Midwest Wine Bar, that landlord came in and paid. H&J Rentals came in and paid very quickly. These things will solve themselves. Our job is not to worry about who's going to pay and who's not. Our job is to collect taxes and make sure those get collected. That's just my opinion.
let's go back to the city manager, and then we'll hear from Councilman Passoff and then Councilwoman Noah.
Yeah, first off, I don't want anybody in this room to think that staff's coming against you guys, like, oh, this is a battle or nothing, because I don't want you guys to think that at all. These are just concerns that we have. And I hope you guys understand that. And, and obviously you guys are the ones that will vote on this and will follow through with what you vote on. So just want everybody to be clear on that.
I want to add one more quick thing. I don't know if everybody knows it, but we're about to lose one of my favorite restaurants in Ferguson. Red's Barbecue is going to be shut down. And they're not going to, even if without this bill, even without them not having a business license, the Department of Revenue has sued them and gotten judgments for $190,000 because they're pocketing their sales tax. And that only goes through February. So there's going to be February of 2023, I think. So it's going to be a whole nother year if they haven't been remitting that sales tax. I love Red's Barbecue, okay? We need to, this nips things in the bud in terms of that not happening down the road, because we're sending certified letters and telling people you've got to do this. So
Raids have never paid taxes,
Right.
okay? They moved from one place.
Oh, I know.
To
They got
another one.
Department
to
of
another
Revenue
place.
shut them down in the other place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't pay taxes.
Well-
Laquita,
Okay, just for clarity, the strip mall that you're referring to on West Florissant, is that 91 West Florissant?
It's the huge one.
Okay.
It's probably, is across the street by the, storage
From the
unit.
store, 'cause
It's before the store. It's on the
Right.
same side as the storage and I
Well,
think it's
next-
before.
It's the only one
it's
left there.
91,
It's the only thing left there, basically.
It's the gigantic.
that's
so,
91.
so-
Isn't that where your friends have their business
That's where they
upstairs?
had the.
well, that's what I'm,
That's not it.
so it's probably like 6 or 7 businesses operating right now, which means that they will not renew their business, we will not renew their business license. So another question, so business license renews or due based upon the calendar, May 1, is there, did I not understand something?
Business license is November.
Well, this right here says May 1, that's what I'm asking, for clarity.
It got changed because didn't you guys say it was too overwhelming to do liquor and business at the same time?
So, well, that, because it's on our calendar,
I haven't heard
it
that
says
one.
May 1.
As far as I know, they're still being accepted now.
I think they're still doing.
Business license, yeah.
But when are they due for renewal?
It says May 1,
May. I
right,
think it is May. I think,
it's right.
isn't it?
Did we move the liquor?
No, I just did liquor. I just did liquor.
I think it's the same. I think they're both in May. Is it,
Didn't move it.
We moved one
Yeah.
because there was a
is
year.
it
and a half.
rental in November?
Yeah, I think rentals.
It might have been rental license.
Yeah,
Okay.
because what in the past, finance department had business license and rental. And they were all coming at the same time, and then we separated them. One, I believe, in,
Rental's November. I want to say
Yeah.
business is still May with the liquor license. Don't,
Well, the
No.
calendar says,
Well,
May.
like,
No,
business and
but-
liquor don't run together.
Right.
But business is now, to my understanding.
Yeah.
I don't do anything with rentals, so I don't know what that's yet changed, but business is still May.
Okay,
And
well,
liquor-
Liquor is right now
May
too.
1.
Liquor
Yeah,
will
it's
process
coming up.
it now, but we don't actually renew them until.
June.
so when we go to pass this, if this passes, which it sounds like it will, what is the process? I mean, what are we going to say to these people? I mean, how are we going to present this? We're just gonna say.
It's
you
not
can't
Well, they're
renew.
gonna have till next May because they just renewed apparently.
It says business licenses renewed or due May 1.
Okay.
So they'll have until next, that's what I'm
So,
asking.
so they'll have renewed by the time this passes, so it won't be until next year. So those businesses in that strip mall, they haven't, the last time that strip mall paid taxes was September 2022. They paid a year late for 2021.
Right.
They owe $109,000. They get rent from those 9 tenants. They have to do their share.
No, and I'm not arguing against that. I'm just asking.
They'll
So
have-
because
it'll be a
business
year.
license renews or due May 1, today is May 1. So if someone, we pass this on the 14th,
It won't be till next year.
is that,
I don't process.
finance?
Finance.
Finance process.
I mean, I would.
I'm just trying to understand how that's going to work if someone
Counselor
doesn't
Noah,
renew.
I would suggest that they renew, that the people in that strip mall should renew their licenses now rather than
Well,
later.
that's what I'm getting to. I mean,
And then they would have a whole year because this, if we don't pass this, it would be the 7th or whatever our next meeting is,
14.
the 14th. So if they were to come in and renew between now and then, this would
You're
not
safe.
apply to them for a full year.
but if not, then, because, and I'm asking for clarity, because if they come in, okay, this is what I'm asking. If they haven't applied for the renewal, usually how long do they have to, like, when is their license? The license
30.
expires is on the 30th,
31, yeah,
the 31 of April, so everyone's license.
April or May?
May,
May, okay,
if it's not paid by May 31st of each year.
so if they're accustomed to coming in on May 15th,
They're in trouble.
they're in trouble. That's what I'm getting to. So is there a way that we can at least have a conversation? I mean, is that doing too much legwork with these people, these business owners, or are they just gonna be SOL?
I would,
That's it.
It's
That's my
Mike's
comment.
turn, then back to Linda. Go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to get back to also, everybody acts like the day after this, John's gonna show up and chain the door closed.
Well, that's what
There
we're,
would still likely be a hearing.
okay.
The tenant could file a case against their landlord along with a temporary restraining order, similar to what Ferguson Market and Liquor did, which we still haven't shut down or held accountable. you know, they hired that attorney to come in and said we violated their civil rights. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
But Reds, he's been operating without a business license for over 3 years. He has had not, because when you file for a business license, this would require you to show you paid your real estate tax. You already have to show you've paid your state sales tax. Red hasn't paid state sales tax in 3 years. So we've continued to allow him to do business without a business license for 3 years.
He's not gonna pay it. He's just gonna find another spot. If he leaves West Florissant, he's going to find another
Well, and
spot.
our job is, we should never have allowed him to open where he was because he owed us money in Ferguson on Bermuda.
Yes, he did.
So that was in Ferguson. So that's a whole nother battle, you know, but the reality is we already have these requirements for many places and it's working. I mean, people are paying because they're realizing we're taking a more strict stance. John just had a hearing when he published it. There was 40 people already operating without a business license for over 11 months. And 19 came in and paid, right? No, more than that. 26 came in and paid.
I think we have what, 6 at the hearing?
How many do we have left that are operating without a license?
There's 9, yeah, 9.
Why are we not shutting them down?
He had a hearing.
Because they still have 21 days. That hearing.
When did you have?
The hearing was last week.
How are they getting a permit to move in these businesses without a license? You gotta have a permit to get
Because
in.
these are renewal businesses. Like Reds and or the other one that's in trouble is the funeral home.
They just never came back after the first year.
Meineke.
Meineke, that's
Well, they're
another,
not-
Monica
they're
been
involved.
here long before us.
yeah, and
They
then,
And
know
they
better.
already know what they're supposed to do.
right, and that's why we had a hearing. They did not show, nor really, only one person showed. And that person really didn't need to be here because her business shut down. So,
What was that?
I don't remember, I'm sorry.
It was a home-based business. I
Yeah.
believe.
But so we gave everybody 21 days from that day. And then it sounds like the state's gonna come in and shut down Reds as well, but at that point, then we would probably shut down Reds and then we're also gonna reach out to the mortuary one more time. You know, letters aren't being sent again, you know, that they have that 21 days, even though we had a hearing, we're also sending them.
So oftentimes with the owner occupancy described, the 14, it's not just the real estate tax they owe. They can't already get a business license because they're not paying their sales taxes, because they have to provide that no sales tax due letter with their license renewal paperwork. It's one of the few requirements we have for business license renewal. It's basically some tax documents, a fee, no tax due letter, voter registration, that's about it. I mean, there's not much. But oftentimes you'll see it's like a triple whammy. It's sales tax, real estate tax, no business license. Like there's a lot of issues going on with those businesses.
The one question I do have, Dave, maybe you can help me on property tax, who is looking that up right now currently for businesses? Is that,
It's fine.
is it finance,
I want to say it's your.
collector revenue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Send me the list.
Well, and
If they're not doing the real estate tax, like you said,
Is that
they're not doing sales tax. Are we asking for sales tax? Yeah.
Yeah,
We
so to get a business license, you have to. turn
We
in
already
your
asked for a
gross-
no sales tax due letter.
okay.
That's a current requirement we have right now. That's why Reds hasn't been able to get a business license. Was because he hasn't paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales tax.
Is Red's a caterer technically?
No,
No?
no, he's been in Taste in Ferguson. He's not a caterer. If he were,
Is that actual owner or someone else is owning that business?
so
It's
he
an
had,
LLC.
he had a business manager and he had it in somebody else's name for a while. Then he let the business manager go. He put everything in his name and he started running the business. And I would say that was about 6 years ago, 5 years ago. So, and that's when he expanded his big ovens in the back and everything else.
That's probably how he got the secondary business license when he opened, because it wasn't necessarily in his name at the time when he opened the location, I would assume.
It might, you know, oh, you mean this location? Yeah, you guys, you guys approved, this was before I was on city council, but I was still doing taste and it was not, it was in, the business had his name on it because of the reputation he had in the barbecue world, but the business was ran and in the name of his business manager. They got into a of disagreement. The business manager and he parted ways and then everything went in his name. But he
Right.
was still dealing with the legalities of his drunk driving and things like that.
Oh, okay.
And what's atypical about a lot of these buildings that are real estate tax delinquent, you know, a lot of people that are against some of this say, well, this doesn't happen anywhere else. Well, it does happen in lower income areas, but more affluent areas, the reason it doesn't happen is generally real estate is encumbered by loans. And if you don't pay your taxes, your bank will pay your taxes for you.
Mhm.
So obviously the strip center on West Florissant, they must own that in cash, which leads me to believe they have money. I mean, they own the real estate.
You should see the house they live in Springfield. It's the size of this community center.
So you start to realize that if like Reds, he obviously must own his building because otherwise his bank would step in and force because they have to protect their interest in that property.
Reds has a.
So I don't know. It's unusual to see properties get like that because if I don't pay my mortgage, my taxes on my home, my bank will pay them on my behalf and add it to my bill at the end of the year.
Can I finish? I was actually next.
Okay, and then
Um,
back to Councilwoman Noah.
So going back, first of all, I agree with everything you guys are saying, but going back to what Councilwoman Noah was saying, because right now her concern is for those people that are currently in that building. And if they haven't paid their taxes or gotten, let me rephrase that, if they haven't renewed their license before our council meeting, then they're out of luck once we pass this. And in a effort of good faith, what I would answer Councilwoman Noah is I would like to see the city send a registered letter to those business owners and say, there is a possible bill on the docket for the 14th. We recommend you get your license before the 14th because your business, your landlord has not paid their bills, and show them the documentation that Nick can find so easily of that not being done, because they may not know that. I mean, they're so busy doing with their daily life and their daily business. It's not they shouldn't have to be chasing down their landlord to see if he's paid the bills.
But, sorry, is it our job now to go after every business?
No,
and say,
not at
"Hey,
all.
go
No,
get-"
no, I'm
Because
not
that's what it
saying,
sounds like.
no, I'm saying one time only, in
Right.
this situation only. Because going forward, it is not our responsibility.
Right.
And right now,
It does have an emergency clause. How soon does it take effect?
Well, that was my question. Can we wait
The mayor signs it,
until?
right?
Mhm.
Oh, well, then just don't sign it till June the 1st.
I tell you, get me.
Can we push the vote?
actually say,
No,
let me see, because normally it'll say that, it says from and after the date of passage and approval, so. it's
So it can
actually
be-
the 14th.
Oh, so there's no such thing as an emergency.
When was the business license due?
Because in the state, it's.
May
for a
1.
Period unless.
So they're already hypothetically in violation if they don't have a business
It doesn't
license.
expire till the 31st. We start renewing them on the 1st.
Okay.
Their license is good till the end of.
I'll gladly drop off 9 letters saying renew your license.
I'm
or you're gonna
saying
lose
it's
your
no
business.
big deal. I mean, we just do a few letters to these people and let them know what's going on.
I'll
and
I'll
call it a day.
personally drop off letters and put them on their front door.
You write them, I'll take them. You can work all day.
But is that okay?
Renew your business license.
We just can't push the vote out.
Is there an option to put the businesses that could be affected if this is passed on probation? For at least 1 year, as long as they agree to it, you don't have to go to court.
But it's not, may not be them, it may be their landlord.
Yeah, and I
You
wouldn't,
Right.
know, So we're putting.
I wouldn't give them a year. I wouldn't give them a year.
Like I said, we still are gonna have a hearing. At that hearing, we can give them another 30, 45 days.
Oh, yeah.
That's that, and it's
Well,
done.
by the time you schedule a hearing, it'll be May.
It's
after
another
May
30,
31st
40 days,
anyway.
yeah.
But
I mean,
So if you
there's a
left-
couple month period right there.
So if you left it alone and we pass it on the 14th and they can't renew their license, then what would happen at that point?
that landlord better write a check.
They get a hearing.
They get a hearing that have 21 days.
Who gets the hearing, the business owner or the landlord?
Business owner.
Business
because
owner
the
has-
renewal
owner,
of
I'm
license-
sorry.
The business license is the issue.
And then if
No,
they renew
there's
within
no
that
hearing
21-day
for the
period, they
landlord.
would just show us the business license at that point.
But
But
with this ordinance though, it states that we are to notify, I believe. am
The
I correct?
landlord,
3 days.
And all the.
We notify the landlord and the tenant in the case of a
Yes.
rental property, and that way nobody can say they didn't
Yeah,
know.
I make sure when we worked on this that it had due process in there for people, because you don't want to just show up. They're getting West Florissant, that strip mall, they know there's problems. I'm telling you, the landlord who doesn't pay the real estate taxes is also not fixing anything. Probably
No,
not
they're not.
plowing snow, probably not paying the electric on the parking lot. There's gonna be problems. I mean, and a lot of those tenants are probably already looking for an exit strategy or not paying rent. You know, they might not be paying rent. You know, I didn't look a case net search up to see if they've been sued, you know, landlord, but.
Are we good with that ordinance?
No, have we made it, have we? I
We're
mean,
not-
are we putting this on the 14th or do you want to put it
No,
at the end of the
we're
month?
It's already been read once.
It's already been read
Yeah.
once.
Okay, so it's.
Yeah, it's just discussion before you guys.
So are we
vote.
going to do just a one-time courtesy and send a letter to the people that live there?
But it
or work
takes
there?
it in here,
Okay,
but.
Yeah,
we did that letter
there, we
anyway.
have to send a letter to the landlord and the tenant
Okay.
under this bill.
then I think that's covered there. Are you comfortable with that?
Well, I mean, that's what it is. I wish we could push the vote out, but
We can't with
We
the
can't
first
do
reading.
that?
Yeah,
And the nice thing is going forward, though, the nice thing is we won't have these issues going forward because when
Right.
someone comes in to get a business license, we're gonna say we can't issue a business license because if you're a new business, your landlord owes taxes. And they're gonna go back and say, I'm not signing that lease. I can't get a business license because you didn't pay your taxes. They're gonna say, I'll go pay those taxes.
what if they already signed the lease?
Most of the
Not
time, most of the
I
time,
mean, true.
people are eager to open a business and they sign a lease before they come to City
Right.
Hall.
That's true.
I've seen that happen several times.
We have.
Yeah, like that person who wanted to open the bar
Bar
next door to the high school,
Yeah.
right?
Can't-
I mean,
Can't laugh. at that.
it's, you're right about that.
Sorry,
That's
John.
unfortunate because people
Jack
trying to
Clark?
open businesses in places they're not authorized to open them.
So just
Well,
one,
that one was a little bit different, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
because
that was,
she actually had come in,
yeah,
she actually had conversations with us.
Elliot,
It had been
I
going
know.
on for a while with Elliot.
That was
And
our
they
fault.
had been notified that they could, no, but
not our fault, but we,
you, I had actually talked to her too, so that was a little bit different.
But regardless, she didn't have a license in hand.
You should know not to build your bar without a business license or
well, liquor
a
license.
liquor license.
well, just one last question. Did we find any other municipalities? This is locally business practice, well, municipality, government practice. What we're doing. I mean, did you speak with it?
I
other people
personally
there?
have not done any research, on business licenses. But the way that a lot of people get around having to pay sales tax is by providing a service. For example, if you're a flooring company, you sell carpet and tile, but you install it too. So that's the loophole. And that's why I had asked about Red specifically, if that was a caterer providing a service. I did want to clarify that we are not collecting the sales tax. We're just sending a piece of mail that says you owe sales tax. Or I mean, real estate,
Property.
real estate.
Right, we don't collect it, the county does.
Okay.
And if you pay online or you hand them a check down at the office down at the county, it'll show up on their website the next day.
You know, in sales taxes, when we do a renewal now, there's an online thing, you order a no tax due letter and it has to be within 30 days. It's kind of the state basically gives you approval to give to your city, the requirement we have as a city.
and, I mean, if somebody comes in and they bring that in, obviously, we're gonna work with them as a city. I mean, which we can easily explain to you all if it's going to pass, if they say on the 20th day, I got this, we're gonna work with them.
Like you said, if one of these businesses comes into you and says, I'm suing my landlord, here's the paperwork from the petition, you're not gonna suspend, you're not gonna go up there with a chain and lock
Right,
the door closed.
exactly.
You're gonna say they're trying to work it out.
Oh, yeah, if they sue their landlord, let them go.
And again, it's not like the liquor license where it impacts their business immediately. I mean, like, nobody's shutting it down. They can still operate while it's being worked out.
Well, you know why a liquor license place takes that more serious? It's because if they don't have a liquor license, they can't buy alcohol. Because the distributor is in violation of federal and state law by selling you alcohol without a license. So that's why they're so diligent about paying their taxes. It's because they know they'll lose their ability to purchase product. And if they start buying product from Schnucks and trying to resell it, they'll go to prison. So.
You should go to Texas. They have lots on theirs. Those state seals.
Okay, can we move on to the next one? 72, 73.
Did we come to consensus about 72, 72?
Yes, ma'am.
You have it down, I take you the consensus.
I mean, I don't have any changes to it. The only suggestion I heard was that we were gonna send out a letter. There's no changes. There's no change.
Okay,
Okay, South Fork Bill Ordinance 7273. The ordinance amending certain sections within Division 2 of the Article 2 of Chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinances for, yes, am I wrong already?
No,
Okay.
you just
Code
read
of
it.
Ordinance for the City of Ferguson relating to regulation and issuance of license for the sale of intoxicating liquor in the City of Ferguson.
so this ordinance actually is an improvement over the existing one in that we've already got the requirement that taxes on the premises must be paid. This ordinance actually adds notification to the landlord and tenant, which is not presently required. So theoretically, right now, a landlord could not pay the taxes and the tenant would never even get a notice and we wouldn't renew their license. Now they will. The only other thing that this changes is it increases the requirement dollar wise for how much non-liquor inventory you have to have, which it hadn't been updated. I think it was since 1982 or whatever. It's been decades since we've done that. So,
The one other thing that we've noticed is the 3 business days of application of renewal. Is there any way we can push that a little longer? Because first off, there's a lot more things going on than just liquor license at the time, right? There's a lot more other things that are happening in the city and within all of our departments. We're not just doing one thing.
So you're saying for the ease of
Right
it-
there in the bold.
So for the ease
So
of the
the only
department,
reason I want those notices to go out quickly is if somebody comes in close to the end. Especially, I mean,
So can I go on one thing? And I'll tell you, maybe you can help us with the process, because we do send them out earlier, like,
Yeah, so liquor licenses expire June 30th. And so when we renew them in June, it's from July 1 to June 30th. I actually sent postcards out in April, notifying them of, the renewal period and when they should have them in by. And so I actually give myself, about 45 days to process them, because there are so many things that have to be verified and so forth. So I give myself about 45 days. Now, I did have concerns about the 3 days because I have people that have already turned in liquor licenses, like, in April, they've already turned in their renewals. But it's like, I can't get to those yet because I'm working on something else. And so it's way too early to even process and then just let it sit. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my concern with the 3 days. And now we do have the online process. So I can get to it quicker because I'm notified as soon as it comes in, but that's no different than, when it was handed in paper. But my concern with the 3 days is a lot of times because, we're given so much grace period or so much processing time. Like, we can add more time to that because otherwise we don't even need, I don't need to give them that.
So you want to go to 10 days or 15 days?
I would say 5.
Mm.
how about 5? That's 5 business days a week. I mean, here's what concerns me, the longer we go on this. You got some landlords that owe substantial sums. And I just feel like the more time that we can allow for that landlord to come up with that money. If we say 15 days from application and they come in, say 30 days before the expiration. And then 15 of those days get ate up by, we haven't sent the letter, and then post office could take 3 or 4 more days. That landlord might only have a week to come up with that money. So,
Well, we're also adding redundancy in the process because before. with
for the
liquor-
liquor license.
Right, before with liquor
There was no
license,
notice.
there were, well, not necessarily that there was no notice, but liquor was the only one that was being checked. Business didn't check property tax.
Right,
So liquor was the only one that. was
But
checked.
liquor didn't
But
require
now-
that you notify anybody.
No, it didn't, but now we're adding that finance check for property taxes, for them to get their business license.
Right.
Is that incorrect?
Yeah, finding.
Correct.
Okay, so now we're actually adding some redundancy, You know, so, I mean, I can still make the notification. I would ask though for more time.
I mean, honestly, it's between you and finance who looks up the property tax on the liquor license. I've sat in council meetings and looked up property tax on myself. That takes about 30 seconds. And then, you know, print the letter certified, you know, then another 5 or 10 minutes. So, I mean, we're not talking about something that's gonna take days. So, and the liquor license count is pretty low, right? I mean, what's that, a dozen? Or 20?
Oh, no, we have, I don't know, 30 or something. 30?
But this is not your only job processing liquor license.
No, get it. I was just looking for more time. just
I know.
because We gave more grace period. And we don't actually, I don't actually start processing liquor licenses until that time. And so if they put them in before then, if I say it's due May 15th and they bring them in April, so now I'm required to start working on them in April. Because I do have some that turn them in that early. And I don't want to tell them, you know, I'm not gonna accept it until then, but that was my only thing. If they turn it in April, now I have to start processing it because now. I
At
have to
least,
know
at
that I
least the
have to
property
every day.
tax aspect of it, yes.
Councilman Palmer,
Yeah, I was gonna say, once one hits, it really isn't that cumbersome to just check the real estate tax. But just thinking out real quickly outside the box, would you prefer it say with your liquor license application, you provide proof you paid your real estate taxes?
Well, it already says that, so they're supposed to put it in there.
They don't, it's not required to provide proof. I just renewed, I didn't provide proof.
You did, you put a tax receipt in there. It wasn't the one that I needed.
Personal
though.
property.
Yeah, you put personal property in there, but it says the property of the. It also says the property that's being licensed, so you didn't put that one in there, so I went out and looked that one up, but you put a tax receipt in there.
Oh, so you checked it.
There's some, yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
That was yesterday.
so you had, I mean, so we have some others that have also put those in there, so some put the right one in there, some did not, because I did have some that I have already processed. But like I said, some of them came in earlier in April. So, you know, given those 3 days, you know, but I heard.
Furthermore,
3 days.
Our ordinance actually says if you order an occupancy inspection on your house, it's supposed to be done in 3 days too.
I think it says 10.
okay, Councilwoman,
We're scheduled within 3, right, or something?
We have to, we have to communicate back to you within 5 days, and the results of the inspection are supposed to be 10 day, provided 10 days after the inspection is completed.
Either way, oftentimes that doesn't happen either, you know, it's just, like I said, I see what she's saying, but also I don't want to see people coming in going, I just found out about this. I can't pay these in 3 days, in a week. You know, I can see both sides of the
Yeah.
situation, but
I mean, with.
Councilwoman Lipka.
So my question, I guess, is there's 2 parts. So Octavia, you're saying if they come in April, you kind of put them off to the side until you have time to do them, until it's time to do them. Now this would require you to do them immediately. So I hear you, but I also would say, well, if you have them trickling in and you get one here and it's in April and you get another one a week later, wouldn't it be easier just to get like, boom, done, boom, done, boom, done? And you know what I'm saying? Just get those done instead of having a huge day where you're just sitting there doing liquor license all day. That would be a question I have, or a thought that I have. And then the other thing I would ask you is, you know, how many days more as a grace period would you want them to have? And what would that actually do to the license itself? I mean, like, are we extending them again beyond their due date?
You know, I wasn't looking for any extension, but like I said, 3 days is 3 days, they're fine.
No, I'm
I
just
mean,
saying
we're
though, if
also-
you
we're
wanted,
also putting redundancy in it, so I'm not the only one checking taxes at this point.
Okay.
Once it's passed.
so that's a good thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Because other people at the finance department would have to be checking that with you, is that what you're saying?
No.
Well, I mean, they check it for their process. So, you know, whenever they apply for liquor, so they normally apply for business first. Because like I said, business is May 1. But liquor is not, so they have a few more weeks before they have to start the liquor process.
what she's saying is Bill 7272 is gonna rectify a lot of these issues because they're not gonna get a business license, which is actually due before a liquor license. Anybody who sells liquor has to also have a business license. So they're
I
gonna
got
get
that.
warning from finance a month before, pay your taxes.
Got it. And then 2, anything that finance does research wise, for the business license, they can forward that information to you, and that's a step done that you don't have to do.
Well, yes and no. So, and we also now have, the Open Gov program,
Mhm.
that added some workflows to it. So I do my part, then I send it off for the other departments to begin to do theirs. So,
So it's, everybody's carrying the bucket of water together.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And before it was, just kind of handed to that department, but
right. And that's the kind of stuff we want to keep doing, is like finding those workflow opportunities, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But now, since we're talking about liquor, I would like to know, just to kind of make the process easier, what other cities are doing, I guess, the inventory in this way, so that way I can kind of get maybe some ideas on how to improve our inventory portion of it, number one, and then number two, because I do have people that come in late, like we do have late fees assessed to business licenses. We do not have late fees assessed to liquor licenses.
Because they don't get a
And we
license.
do have people that come in past June. And so, and then they want you to rush.
Of course they
So, I
do,
mean, this-
because they're screwed. I would say you put a very hefty late fee on those personally. I
I
would,
mean, we don't, right now, we do not.
We'd have to
provide
pass an
for a late
ordinance
fee
if there was
at
gonna be a
all,
late
right?
fee.
well,
Could
no,
you put it in this?
Okay, my,
that might be correct.
In regards to your question about inventory, all we changed was the amount, so how do you do it now?
Yeah, so now they just, I mean, it's so confusing now. And I'll ask them, well, can you give me the values? And when I look at the values, like, I'm looking at this sheet and they look different. So, I mean, if we're talking about improving processes, let's improve the process. So that way I'm looking at one thing instead of trying to figure out what is this one
Multitude.
and what is this one and what is that one, so.
As far as the inventory requirement, we have that because we don't want a store that does nothing but sell liquor and Swisher Sweets.
Oh, I'm not asking that question.
So, but I don't expect that a building inspector is gonna go into the store and count bags of potato chips either. I think we can, well, they can stipulate it and, if you have them stipulated on the application, generally I'm comfortable with that. And if we have a place that's a problem and an inspector is going in, that's one of the things they can cite them for. But I don't expect I don't expect anybody from the
Send your
city to go out
inspectors
and
in
count bags of potato chips.
They don't do that.
Would you though?
They don't.
They don't, but I would have them stipulate on the
I mean,
application
they
that they have.
If they're
That they
saying.
do
that
have
they're
it,
gonna
and that way if they,
only
if you have somebody who's got a bunch of drug dealing in front of their liquor store and we're looking for things to enforce on, that
This
puts
is
one more
more
wrench in the toolbox, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But I would definitely have them stipulated.
That way.
Palmer, Councilman Palmer.
So I don't have a package license, so I've never had to submit that.
Right.
So what I'm wondering is, what do they do now? Just give you some invoices they have from
They
their
just give
store?
me invoices, yeah.
What you could do is with your smorgasbord of affidavits you have in there, you could just put a basic line thing that says list items and the value and make them sign and notarize it.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving you their major brands order or their Frito-Lay most recent ticket. You know, that's something you can streamline because I don't have a package license, so I'm not sure how that was ever implemented before anyway. But it sounds like they're just sending in whatever they have.
They
to
just
show
said,
these-
right, so there aren't any guidelines about, what should be accepted and so forth, so long as they attach something and isn't, there's other things on there other than liquor, then, that's.
And
the only-
usually it's separate vendors, so you're not gonna see a lot of non-alcohol. Usually it's separate, like alcohol comes from like major brands or something, then they sell some.
Mayor,
So I have one store, and I can't think about who it is, but they actually type theirs up, so it's not actually a receipt. But that's why I said I get it in different forms, so, and depending on who their distributor is, then it looks different. So some might just look like a receipt, some might look like an actual printout or Excel spreadsheet. Some, they typed up themselves.
What's the easiest way for you to do it?
I mean, I don't know, that's why I'm just asking.
When you
So
get a
I look
package,
at it and I just,
when you get a package license, which one do you prefer? The one that they typed it out nicely for you or the one that has all the receipts?
I think if there was a way that they could put it together, so I knew what I was looking at, because some of them will be pages and pages and.
If you just have them itemized on a list for you, I have to do it for my tobacco license. I list suppliers and what I buy from like. By hand, I do it.
And maybe separate the goods, or,
Yeah,
because it's gonna change, because even if the business changes, what's excluded.
You would just say inventory list minus alcohol, minus alcohol is basically what you do, beer and alcohol. And
And then
tobacco
tobacco
counts-
products.
tobacco counts for half.
Okay,
Liquor,
okay.
Okay, so basically, I would also like to say that we probably, and I think Nick already said this earlier, we need to go look at other, or you said it, we need to go look at other cities' ordinances and see what they're doing, because we're just asking for this to be updated from 1982. So,
Wow.
yeah, so my concern, we have situations right now where we've got just ridiculous liquor sales going on in Ferguson. And then their inventory is what, maybe $1,000 of gum and spewing and things like that. I would also, so I'm wondering, I mean, I'm listening to what all you guys are saying and I don't have anything better or smarter. All I would say is maybe this is the time, instead of us trying to create a process, we look and see what those other cities are doing and see what process is working for them, because I'm sure their inventory value is already at this level or higher than what we're proposing. So to me, that would be the first place to look for information. And then the other thing I would say is, would there be any possibility of going back to that square footage? We had an issue years ago when we had somebody wanting to open a liquor store on Chambers where the used car lot is. And the neighbors, fought against it too. But when we were having discussions with them, one of the things we kept bringing up was their square footage of product versus alcohol. So if they had an ability to show you, would that help at all? Would square footage of product be of any assistance? Okay, well, I'm just thinking out loud.
I mean, but more along those lines, there are a lot of updates that are needed to our liquor code instead of, just this right here.
Yeah.
We do need, in my opinion, we overhaul the renewal process is I think there's a lot of things, and I think we're probably one of the only cities that go through, as much as we do for, renewal. And I kind of understand why, because I know, liquor control no longer comes out. They leave it to the city to enforce it. They don't enforce it unless it's a question to come out. So, but I mean, I think the entire thing could be looked at, and I think, Councilman Palmer, I think you mentioned that some time ago, but, we never really had opportunity to look at the code. as a whole.
Is there a possibility, going to your point on that, just kind of stepping away from this for a second. Going to your point on that, could you put together some of the things you would like to see done to make the job more streamlined, more friendly to the applicant, easier on you? And give us a document that we could then create another
Yeah.
work session to
Yeah.
go through all this with
I
you?
can look at some other.
I think all department heads should do that.
I'll pull together some other.
All right, that's all. I need to look
Okay.
for.
so you are going to pull together
Yeah, I'll
some
put together
information
here.
from various municipalities.
Yes.
Okay, Councilman Palmer.
I was just gonna say, like, I had talked to her about a year and a half ago about it. Our renewal process is basically like reapplying. It's no different. It's actually, the only difference is instead of checking new, you check renew. The state is 1 page. The county is 2 pages if you serve on Sunday. It's done in no time. Our liquor license renewal asks for your voter registration card. Seriously.
It does?
Yes.
You have to start the process over every year.
I can do it quickly because I had everything ready from the year before.
Right.
It took me a little longer this year because I did it on OpenGov, but it is a process. I mean, and you're gonna run into an issue this year with the on-premise because it was a required field to have inventory instead of an optional field. So I just uploaded a document and said, I'm not required to do this because I don't have package. That's for package only. But some of the stuff is good to check, but some of the stuff is, I mean, I have to do a Missouri State Highway Patrol background check every year. That's crazy. It's just, the reality is bad players who have liquor licenses, there are remedies in our ordinances to solve that problem. Like, it's a privilege. You could immediately hold a hearing at any time if we have a problem property, like R&R, like troubled properties, you don't, it's a privilege. You can say, yeah, you have a license. We're trying to take it away from you because you're not performing the way we think you should. That's why renewals, as long as the place hasn't been a pest, they probably shouldn't be scrutinized as if they're an outsider coming in to open a new place. Because that's part of the reason we keep extending these. It's a process. I mean, I know why we have so many people every year that are going, we need to extend these out because we didn't get the inspection done. They couldn't come out and inspect. They didn't inspect. I didn't know I was supposed to get the highway patrol background check myself. The city used to do it. Like, it's a laundry list of issues. Is the city, I had a guy calling her today, hey, is the city ordering the inspections this year or am I? I said, I thought they always did. I don't know. I'm like, I have no clue. So like when she gets the license, also code has to work because they send out code to inspect all the properties. And then like, depending on who cites them, it could be something crazy. I mean, like painted an entire Schnuck store. That
Oh,
happened.
Tony Lanero had a whole list. of
So
major-
it just becomes this issue where it can be fixed, like it could be perfected, like she said. It would make her job a hell of a lot easier for renewals. I mean, I know that. I mean, I would say scrutinize the new people to the T, but on the renewals, it could be streamlined.
So are we saying that we want to have staff look at this a little bit more and bring it back to you all?
I think this is still fine.
I do too.
This just,
I think
this actually gives more notice to per people to get their bills paid. Actually, it's kind of a tool, once you get it going out. It would be a tool for her more so to help her. Even though the time might not be a little more faster than she would like it to be, letting people know, because currently we don't even give them due process about their taxes not being paid. The current process, but the new one actually sends them a letter saying, hey, we got your license renewal. We can't issue your license or put it on the agenda until you've provided a proof that your taxes have been paid on your bill, you know?
I think we can make these small improvements now and then after budget, staff can put together a whole package of how they like to streamline it and we can work on
On the
it
liquor
then.
license one?
But yeah, on the liquor license, because we're not gonna get that settled before budget anyway.
Is
You
that
know,
ordinance dictates renewal or?
but we can have it done in plenty of time for next year.
It would be simple as almost going through the liquor license requirement part of the ordinance and just having a renewal section. That would
Yeah,
cut
we
and paste part
we
of
could
those
also look at
requirements.
some other cities and other open jobs, things like that.
Because I went back, this was back when Elliot was there, so two things I wanted to know. But back when Elliot was here, we made some changes to the liquor code. We made some small changes then. But at that time that's how I know that we are one of the only cities that actually go through this extreme process every year. Because I was looking at different codes different cities at that time, because we even thought about changing the application. So we were looking at other applications on what changes we could make to them based on our code. We really couldn't change the application, which is why it's 6-7 pages long. I think I probably took out, maybe a half a page of stuff, but it's still 6-7 pages long. And then the other thing I was gonna say was about the inspection. So yeah, it is a little bit different this time, but still in the workflow. So once it gets to community development, then they do the inspections. But the way it used to be different was they had a time where they did the inspections every year. So, and it was just, they would pay, I say this to me, the updated list of liquor licenses, and this was their period where they went out and they did the inspection. And so now, I don't know that they're doing it like that now, but that's how it was done in the past.
Yeah, and I would say that the inspection requirement for liquor licensing, I think is kind of foolish personally. You can have a business that doesn't sell alcohol that opened in 1950 and they've been inspected probably never. But if there was an inspection in 1950, that was the only time they were ever inspected ever since they've been open. But if you own a building that's got apartments in it and 3 businesses, but one of them sells mimosas for 3 hours a day, that entire structure gets inspected every year. That seems a bit cumbersome to me. Like, it just seems kind of,
But see, I like both of those to some extent. There's gotta be a middle ground. I mean, I don't want the 50-year-old business to never go
With that
without
also
being
being said,
inspected.
fire does an inspection every year on every business. And if there's
Oh,
a
that's
safety hazard, we definitely go to code.
oh, and I always,
There you
I always
go.
revert back to, nothing ever stops code from writing up a building, ever. You know,
Rachel?
if a building looks bad, why do we have to wait till liquor? Because oftentimes the person punished the most is a church. Trying to get a liquor license to give beer away for basically at a fish fry. I mean,
That
so
has
we
been
had
fun.
somebody go to BTC and tell me to paint all of their windows and replace them all. And they called me, I said,
Parking lot.
they called me and I said, hey, just do donation. It only says you have to have a liquor license if you're selling beer.
We work with them as soon as,
But they gave them a laundry list and they said, we're not gonna sell beer at our fish fry.
and that inspector's no longer here.
So it just
Remember what
kind of
they did
opens
the
up
other-
this door of,
They also haven't come back for a license either, so I
Yeah.
guess maybe.
Gene Diaz is a nightmare.
I said, do free will donations and just give it away for free.
Did you guys want to take a break before I go to the next one?
So what are we gonna do with 7233, 7273?
I think
Are we
five
gonna
days.
keep the 3 days? Or are we gonna extend it?
I'm okay with 5 days.
I'm okay with 5.
So 5,
Yeah.
okay, we agree to 5.
So because this is an actual bill though, can we make a motion to amend it?
it.
Mhm. Is there a motion on the floor to amend?
I'll move to amend it to 5.
Second, Linda Luther.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It has been amended to 5.
And nobody asked to amend the 3 and 7072 to 5. Do we want to do that? Cause it's 3 as well.
So you wanna go back?
Finances checking.
I mean, I'm not saying I wanna
I
do
would-
it, but if we wanna do it, I'll make
Please.
a motion.
I would like that.
Go back to 7272.
And we'll amend, all right, I'll move to amend that to 5 days as well.
Second, oh, go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7272 is amended from
5 days.
3 to 5. Okay,
And the benefit that we had in this conversation is now we get to work with Octavia to create a better liquor license.
Right.
now, are we going to pass 7273? We just amended to 5. Are we gonna pass it with the additional information here and wait until you get in touch with other municipalities and then come back later to make some changes?
After budget.
I didn't hear that they were making any changes. I heard that we were moving with it as it is.
Right, but then the things you were talking about, we're gonna do
That's
after
later.
budget. Yeah.
Okay.
So if she comes to us after she's done research and says, hey, I found this to be a better situation, then we can amend the bill.
Okay, that's
We'll
fine.
we'll amend, we'll do another bill.
Okay.
It's gonna be a right different bill, and it's gonna be after budget, because we're not gonna get it done right
Well,
now.
I'm just saying,
72,
if there's a way to fix
Okay.
that.
All right, next bill.
Next one, we got
Right?
7270.
Assistant City Manager.
This one is ordinance amending certain sections within Article 13.4. Code ordinances, Ferguson related to zoning, in the City of Ferguson. We're gonna let Rachel discuss this one a little bit.
Um, so we're talking about
The car lot bill.
Lots.
so, I did some research for just our local municipal code. And I wanted to make sure that I spoke up that this is, these items here that are outlined in this bill, are already in our zoning code, under chapters, chapter 49, section 26.51 A and B, and 26.44 and 26.57.
Can you read those to us?
I can go and find them. I had summarized
If
them.
those are already in our zoning code, why is it that we've had this going on for years and they've never been cited for it?
I don't
I don't either. That's why I'm asking.
know. I've only been here.
Because we had a lot up on Airport Road by Emos that was wall to wall derelict vehicles for years. And they,
Decades, not years, decades. Yeah.
decades. And didn't pay their taxes and didn't have business license either, but that's beside the point in this discussion. And we've got that one on Chambers that you literally. I took a picture and sat a box of Triscuits in between two cars, so you could see how you could barely squeeze a box of Triscuits between two cars. Now, if that ordinance already exists, then somebody should go out there tomorrow and write a summons.
We can't
And-
write a summons without giving due notice.
Oh.
So they have to notice the violation. We respond to the the
Okay.
complaint of the violation within 5 days.
I mean, I'm not under the impression that what the ordinance you're talking about applies to this situation specifically. If it indeed does, and you go out and notice them before the next council meeting, I'll withdraw the bill.
Okay. And then I also, in chapter 44, the part that's recommended in this bill for the inoperable or not improper running order, that's also already in our ordinances in chapter 44.
So
Oh,
So, so again, I 100% agree with you that it's a matter of poor enforcement in the past. And I think you have a good team in place that will move forward with enforcing things.
That's fine. I don't support creating new laws on top of laws that already exist for no reason. If those laws indeed already exist, and I sit down at the next council meeting and there's a piece of paper that they've been noticed, that that they're in violation of these specific things, and it addresses the issues in this bill, I'll gladly withdraw the bill.
Councilwoman Nord and Councilwoman Liquor.
Well, since we're discussing this, it's a question and a comment. In Ward 3, and this is not, please don't take it personal, because it's not intended for that, but I have received several concerns with what's going on with business. I don't know the name of the business. I assume it's a business. I don't know if it's a used car lot or a junkyard or a salvage yard or what's, it's 1022 South Florissant. And there are cars and box trucks there. They have been there for years and they are just there and people are concerned what is going on there.
Is that
the business I can answer a little bit of that.
And I've told staff on 7 occasions to send the guy a letter.
Yeah.
I can't do shit about it.
Well, that's fine. Like I said, don't take it personal. I mean, we're
I am
having,
taking it personally.
Okay, let's hear from the city manager. We'll go to Linda.
Yes, so we've actually driven by it, Rachel, myself, Dave. You can actually see it right now. I know we are gonna be in contact with DNR, because we don't know what's in the barrels and we don't know it's right by the creek. So I can let Rachel explain a little bit more if she wants to go into it, but I mean,
It's just a process and, because anytime you try to, we're working with police too. But anytime you try to remove somebody's property, you really, really, really want to make sure you have documentation. Because I have been in a situation where somebody said that I threw away their, great, great, great grandfather's Bible from 1642. And, and that was a fun story to play out. But yeah, it does take time. We know about it. We know it looks terrible, but we're just trying to make sure that we work with the police department, we work with the Department of Natural Resources, the Army Corps of Engineers, and with legal to make sure that we're crossing all our Ts and dotting all our Is.
And obviously the owners already said, do what you gotta do.
well, it's not me if we're having a conversation, but it's, the residents are concerned. People are truly concerned. And since, we're having this conversation, this is why this is being brought up. So I hope everyone can respect that, just like with the business licenses, just like with the liquor licenses. It's not doing things a certain way, right? Because people see this and they're talking about, well, what's going on with this? Well, what about this, Councilman? But do you see this? So I thought this was a safe space.
Okay,
Fine.
Lipka?
So my question is, let's say I own a car lot like this. And I get notice from you. So what is the process then? I mean, are you gonna come out and try to turn over the engine of every one of my cars with your inspectors? Are you gonna come out and measure? Are you going, what's the recourse? Are you gonna come and take my cars or shut me down? Because I wanna know I wanna see this get done immediately on Chambers. I wanna drive down Chambers and see 1/4 of the cars that are currently on that lot, and I want to see the building cleaned up, or I want to see him to go out of business and he takes them all out of there.
Well, I'm gonna break your heart and it's not gonna happen immediately.
Okay, but what are we gonna see over the next 6 months?
So so if we get wind of a complaint or if we notice something, we'll go the longest route first. So if you say, hey, report a concern, this is what I saw, we check it out. We take about 5 days to check it out. That's actually outlined in our ordinances. And that is because we have the code enforcement liaisons on routes. So that way they're in the same place at the same time. Because also something that's outlined in the ordinances is the reinspection schedule. So if they're in the same place at the same time or same place on the same day, give or take, then they will automatically already be there for their reinspection. So they're not having to ping pong all over heck and back. So once they have pictures, they need to take at minimum 3 pictures, front, left, and right. If the neighbor allows them to enter the neighbor's property and take pictures of like the backyard from the neighbor's property, that is something that we're allowed to do. So they get a door hanger that says, hey, we saw this thing, would you mind calling us? But then at the same time that we're giving them that immediate courtesy notice, if they're there and we can talk to them, great. But at the same time, we're also buckling down for the event that we're gonna have to, remove all these vehicles for them. So we're gonna go back to the office. We're going to make a report that outlines the code sections that are in violation. If we don't do that, legal will yell at us. And then, they get sent a, letter, and that letter, is the preliminary, notice of violation in order to abate. So they have 10 days to abate that notice. If we go back in 10 days and they have not abated it and have not responded to us, we have to wait another 21 days after that to give them the notice of a hearing. And if they do respond to us within the 10 days and we go back out and nothing has been abated, but they said, hey, I know 10 days is coming up, but
My dog
the
just
to-
had a broken leg.
Yep, so we can work with them and we try not to extend things for more than 90 days. So after worst case scenario or most common case, nobody talks to you. You wait the additional 21 days. You're pretty much at 20 days. So then you have to give a notice of hearing. And all these notices usually get posted on the property, mailed to the property, and mailed to the property owner. With the hearing itself, that has to be, of course, in like a, public newspaper, magazine, something or
Or
another.
those lovely flyers you send out to all of us about public hearings.
Yes.
Okay.
So that has to be done 15 days in advance of the date of the hearing. These particular kinds of hearings are only administrative and do not have to be held before city council or a judicial body. And then usually at the time of the hearing, they can come in and say, oh, woe is me, I've been out of town on vacation on a private island for 4 weeks and I didn't get any of this, but I'll get to it. Or they can not come in, and then it's up to the city manager to have this information that we have provided him and give him our opinion. And then he can make the final say. And he might give them another 30 days, benefit of the doubt. Or he might say, sorry, we're gonna contact our contractor. The contractor hopefully will get it done within 14 days. Then after 14 days, we're gonna get the bill, so we have to pay them or else our credit goes down. We give the violator, which ends up being the property owner, even if it's a rental. They're the only ones that have any real investment in the property there. But they get 30 days to pay what we had to pay. And then if they don't do that, then it goes to the county and gets assessed as a tax lien, and maybe eventually at the end of the year it gets paid. Maybe it just builds up and
So if, let's say it goes to the tax lien, they say, screw it, I'm out of here, and they walk away. So now we gotta get rid of the truck cars, and we've got this tax lien on this building, and of course, the building's already crappy. Do we have the ability to take that building and put it back on the market, or do we have to sit around and watch it go downhill more? I mean, what's
So
the thing
you
that we're
can-
working with FNIP to get something quicker?
So if you want, well, St. Louis County, in its entirety is working on the Land Banking Act. But yeah, you could condemn a building and go to court and, get ownership awarded to you. Or it goes on, the post third list after a few years. Or the county could adopt a shorter time frame and only do like 1 year past due taxes. But you could do that, and then you could declare it surplus and auction it off for a fair amount and hopefully get it back on the roster.
Okay. So I just heard from David. He misunderstood and thought this was May 9th.
Yeah.
Which is the first day of our budget
Budget.
meetings. Yeah.
That's okay. I'll reach out to him,
Okay.
give him what John gave.
Chapter 26 of the zoning ordinance, there is some common language in terms of the size of the parking spaces. However, chapter 26 pertains to parking provided to service other uses. Parking at a grocery store or a movie theater or something like that. A car lot is a particularly, it is a different thing. And some of the requirements of this bill don't exist in chapter 26 of zoning, so. But I also don't think you can apply chapter 26 to a car lot. They're gonna say, this isn't customers parking at the grocery store. This is a business storing inventory, which is a different deal. And I think that we need to specifically state that the storage of cars at a retail car dealership still has to be done in a safe and attractive manner.
So, it would actually fall under showroom, which is a type B use of the building code. And there's a lot of different types of, automobile, motor.
Chapter 26
Businesses
says
that-
you can't park unlicensed vehicles outside, period. None of those cars at any car lot have license plates on them, so if you're saying chapter 26 applies to car dealership inventory, then we've got bigger problems than how close together they're parked. The whole thing is illegal.
Well, I have that, the design standards, entries, exits, drive aisle widths and parking regulations for, are in that chapter. But if you go more into detail in the 28 International Building Code, which is what the city has adopted, there are several different types of uses, designated to, vehicles or motors in general, whether it's a showroom, a motor vehicle repair garage, a parking garage, motor fuel dispensing facility, automobile factory, car wash. And they all have very unique requirements as to exactly what each of those things need to.
I understand. 26.43A says inoperable and or unlicensed motor vehicles shall be parked within an enclosed structure, period.
Okay, where are you?
I'm 26.43 of the zoning code. I'm gonna assume that we don't believe that a car repair facility or a car dealership can't park an unlicensed or inoperable vehicle outside ever under any circumstances. So clearly, we don't believe that 26.43 applies to car dealerships, right?
I don't have that one specifically mentioned, but I can look at it.
26.43A.
Is that in the muni code or is that where I'm gonna go?
It's in the muni code in the zoning section. My impression, and I haven't looked at it in any great detail, but my impression is I don't think chapter 26 applies to a car dealership.
I'm sorry, say that one again, 26.
26.43A.
Closer.
That's okay, I'm still open.
So, no, I agree with you that this is not specifically for a car lot. This is just general.
Well,
Um,
it can't be applied to car. It's not that it isn't specifically for it. It may not be applied to car lots or car lots couldn't exist.
No, look, see here, I'm in here. Hold on, let me send you a different way.
Under 26.43A, if my car breaks down and I had towed to Meineke, it would be illegal for them to leave it out front until they got around to repairing it.
I mean, yeah, agree, but that's why we also have to look at the 2018 International Building Code. Cause they give more detail as to each specific kind of use and, the qualifications of what kind of vehicle storage you can have there. And then also our zoning code just needs redone entirely. There's also that.
Okay, and in the meanwhile, I would like for the car lot and chambers to have more than 18 inches between their cars.
Yep, I got that noted.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So what does that mean for this bill, folks?
I think it's necessary. I don't think it conflicts with anything. The fact that it may duplicate something, I don't think it does duplicate anything, because I don't think chapter 26 can be applied to a car dealership. But even if it can, first of all, I don't think, I mean, you're not gonna go out and write a summons based on IBC chapters. You're gonna have to have an ordinance.
No. Yeah, you can. That's how we get by with all of the citations that we do. You adopted the 28 International Building Code in its entirety with
Mhm.
very few revisions.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Well, nevertheless.
So what are we gonna do with bill number 7274? Rachel says the ordinance we have now take care of a lot of this, and now we have a proposal.
I heard if Rachel can ticket it and make some process, that Nick can pull it, but that's what I heard.
But I mean, like, if you go on regulations and operable unlicensed vehicles and trailers. Park within
Obviously
enclosed
doesn't
structure.
apply to a car.
No,
So,
so I mean, but like, okay, just to give you kind of. So one of my kids had a car in her driveway that didn't have a license on it. And she was gonna, and it didn't work, and they were gonna fix it, but it took, of course, she didn't have the money at the time. But Retke went by and ticketed her every single week
right,
for weeks on end. And so finally she just had to get rid of it. But basically she could have cleaned out her garage and put it in the garage and would have been fine.
they used to let you put a cover on it.
You use,
Yeah.
most cars around here have a cover on.
Yeah.
I'll get
that's-
charged with trespassing and property damage if I try to go lift a car cover.
Right, but with, so, aside from the used car lot that we're discussing now, according to this, we need to be ticketing a whole lot of people in their cars in their driveways.
Well, and let me tell you, there's a house across the street, 2 doors down from me that I put in a few days ago that has had 2 wrecked cars sitting in their driveway for months with no license plates on them. And, so you're right about that, but again, what we're focusing on here, and I don't want to get,
Yeah,
I
I
want to
don't-
stay on.
I don't see this being pertaining to a used car lot. To me,
Right.
this is more
I want
residential.
there to be a clear and undisputable nexus to regulate used car lots that park cars mirror to mirror.
I completely agree with that because it's an eyesore. It brings down the value of our community. It's just ugly. Yeah, it's trashy.
Rachel, what is your proposal?
You'll have a notice in front of you on the 14th.
What does that mean?
Well, I told her if she believes she has adequate regulatory authority without additional legislation, demonstrate that to me and I'll withdraw the bill.
Well, here's a second, it says automobile repair and services, 1 space per 300 square feet of floor area.
26,
Plus
26.
Are we in agreement that Rachel is going to do
26.68.
whatever she needs to get done by time May the 14th? If not, then we will start looking at this bill again. Is that not correct?
Minus
13 days?
I'll withdraw it on the 14th.
Okay,
Otherwise. I'll
Yeah,
withdraw
that's how many
it.
spaces they're
Okay.
required to have
Go
for
ahead.
staff.
Can I
Business
continue?
visitors.
yeah, keep going. We're on 7275.
7275, an ordinance amending certain sections within Article 1 of Chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Ferguson relating to the business and building regulations in the City of Ferguson. Rachel, I'll let you go with this again.
The reason I wanted to talk on this one, is because we are, revising all of our fees right now. And it could, omit the need for this bill and this verbiage. And in hopefully 2 months, when you guys see the fees in front of you, then this would just be another thing that I have to remember to also put in my new bill to revoke this section. So we do definitely make an effort, especially on planning and zoning permits, or special building permits that are beyond our capabilities, to let them know that, hey, this isn't zoned appropriately, so you're gonna have to go to planning and zoning first, and hey, this is how much that's probably gonna cost you, but then you're gonna have these certified mail fees, that might be like $8 a letter, and you have like 27 properties surrounding you, so we do definitely do our due diligence in letting people know ahead of time, like, is this really worth what you're trying to do here? Like, I understand your kids want a tree house, but do you really wanna spend that much money on a tree house? And go through that much public engagement. So it's just one less thing for me to have to remember to revoke in a couple months.
Councilman Palmer.
Intention of this bill didn't have to do with the internal cost relative to zoning issues. It was more so in the past, when the city would consult with a third-party engineer for plan review, the person who was the applicant for the building permit was never made aware of that or that cost. So you would go in to get your building permit and you pay a $3 per $1,000 fee for your build. So if you build a $1 million building, you have a $3,000 fee, construction fee on your building permit. If we go to Tom Weiss to review the plans, you've also got to pay his $5,000 review fee. So when you go in to get a building permit, you're paying your $3,000 construction fee, your building permit fee, and then your individual fees for every inspection. I've spoken to many professionals in the industry. Most cities who can't retain an engineer to review comprehensive plans, they absorb that review fee within the construction fee. That it makes total sense. If you do a $10 million project, that's $30,000. The bigger the project, the more time to review it. The city should not be able to double charge is what it is. I can give you a real life example. At 415 South Portsmouth Road, I built the building, or I went and applied for a building permit. Staff had nobody on staff to review the plans. I get a call about 3 weeks later, your permit's ready for pickup. It's $7,200. Said, okay, I'll be down there. And then Matt Unrein walks out and goes, hey, you also owe this $8,000 to Weiss Design Group. And I said, I didn't hire Weiss Design Group. He goes, no, we did. And you got to pay for it because this ordinance says so. I said, you should pay for that out of the construction permit fee cost. That's what the nature of that cost is. It's internal review cost. And he said, that's not how it's written. So I ended up getting stuck with paying that, which was craziness. So this was a way, this is a way to try to make sure we're not penalizing people for developing properties in our town. I hate to think that, I know we did retain our own review process for like the Performance Food Group, I believe.
Mhm.
But had we not, Weiss would have gave you guys a bill for $100,000 and you would have turned that over to PFG. And then on top of that, charged them $3 million for a building permit or $300,000 for a building permit. I mean, it just seems like a barrier to development because the city has to look at its actual time spent. So if they just hand the plans to Weiss and say, review this, we still have our permit fees for the inspections, the time to look at the plumbing, the time to look at the fee. There's still this, big number up top for the construction fee that really we're not doing anything for. We're not earning that revenue. That's where this bill comes from. It has nothing to do with $8 notices for planning or zoning review. It's more so for when we decide to use a third-party review. And I know staff's gonna say, well, we're not doing that anymore, but it's happened in the past. And it could happen again if Mr. Bernard's not here anymore.
Yeah.
So I just hate to see people being charged extravagant fees for something they have no idea is even coming. You have no idea of even knowing what the fee is gonna be.
I mean, I think,
Council, go
oh,
ahead, go
sorry.
ahead,
No, no, let her finish.
go ahead.
I hear you and I understand that you had a crappy situation in the past. And that may have been due to past management and professionals that maybe should not be in the field that they were in. And that's something that happens and it's really unfortunate and I'm sorry. I do want to reiterate that everything that you said resonates with me. When you're talking about, making sure that the actual time that we spend on these things is reflected in those fees and that these fees are fair and these fees all have reasoning behind them. And I wish I had a draft of the thing that I'm working on, the fee schedule, so I could share that with you and validate the input that you have, because that's exactly where I'm going with it. And part of the planning and zoning fees, that was a poor example, and I'm sorry I used that. It's just the one that incurs the most random fees. Using the planning and zoning example, not the best one. So I understand how that could have been confusing. But in the new fee schedule and in the new section that outlines like the process for all of this, it is in there that we have to notify you in advance. If there's gonna be something where it's gonna cost you money, we're gonna tell you and you're gonna say, yeah, okay, or you're gonna say, sorry, what?
In which case.
But still, even disclosing you're gonna double charge somebody is wrong, in my opinion, personally. I mean,
It's not that we're gonna double charge you. We're gonna let you make the choice if you want to be double charged or not. And then you can make an appeal either to city council or to the building board of appeals.
As
No,
a matter,
it's my turn.
No, it's Councilman Cassoff, then you.
No, I was next. I was just waiting on Rachel to finish.
Okay, Councilwoman Lippert.
Sorry, I was. Because I wrote down my questions. I've been waiting. So, my question though is with what he's saying in regards to that double charge and we should absorb it into the construction cost. To me, that's no different than the kiss-ass agreements we make with major developers like Centene regarding, I'm sorry, I'm saying it, regarding the fact that we give away, building permits, we give away all these tax, we give away all kinds of things to bring in these businesses. How is that request of absorbing that into the construction cost anything harder to do than the money we give to and bring these people in? We do it with TIF, we do it with Chapter 100. We eat all kinds of fees on a regular basis. I mean, we're eating like a fat man. And then the other question I have, and I think you've already answered, is, does your proposal that you're going to be presenting to us, does it address exactly what he's saying? And can we, again, this could be a situation whereas if we see it and we feel real comfortable with it, then we can pull this bill off the floor on the 14th. But right now, it's hard to know that. Are you, in your proposal, are you absorbing those costs in the construction fee?
So I have Rachel's rough draft with me, if you want to go through it.
That's up to you guys.
That's up to you guys, but I think we'd have to amend the budget.
So
Okay.
I did pose a question on the floor. In your proposal, do you eat the costs that he's asking to be absorbed by the city?
Yeah, we validate the reasons that we're charging what we charge. We're changing the fee structure entirely. But we're also thinking 5 years in advance of who we need to have on staff and how much it's gonna cost to have them on staff. We're not just gonna have Billy Jim Bob from down the road come in and say that he knows everything and be able to do this.
So when you say justify the charges, I mean, to me, I think anybody can justify any charge. My question is, if the person's paid these things, are we as a city going to absorb the construction fee as we absorb other fees with tips and chapter 100s?
What are you
to-
wanting?
I-
You want us to?
I'm wanting what's reasonable with the way Mike has explained it. That's what I want to see happen. And I also feel like with all of the things we've done with the chapter 100 and all the things we've done with the tips in the past with other businesses, to me, this is along the same line of enhancing additional development in our community.
So I'm agreeing with everything that you and Mike are both saying, and probably what Nick wants to say.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead,
I'm with you on that.
Councilman Castle.
We have a construction fee that covers the cost of doing plan review and engineering work in-house. As a matter of equity, if we outsource that and pass the cost of the outsourcing on to the permit applicant, we ought not charge for the internal work that we are no longer doing. Now, I believe we might have a city engineer in the budget this year, or did that not happen?
It's in there currently, but.
Okay,
It's
so
not,
you-
it's
Nothing's
not.
approved.
So
nothing's
once,
approved.
right, understood. Once we hire a city engineer, the need to outsource may go away. And if it does, this will be moot, except in very large projects which are beyond the scope of our internal staff. All this does is protect potential construction permit applicants from being what amounts to double charged. And you know, if you come up with a new fee structure, great. If we have the internal capacity to do things that are currently being outsourced, terrific. But when we don't, we oughtn't double charge people just because we're incapable of doing something in-house. And that's all this changes.
Councilman Palmer.
And I will say too, I gave big examples for big numbers, but this also could apply to a very small project. I mean, there's been instances where I've known the city has consulted with a third-party plan review for like a residential addition. So then a homeowner goes in there, you know, building an addition onto their house, and they pay their 3%. Let's say it's $100,000 addition. They got to pay $3,000 for that permit fee, plus 40, 50, 40, you know, all these different fees for each individual inspection. But then on top of that, they get handed that third-party review for $800 or $900 or whatever it may be, or $1,000, however many hours the third-party reviewer decided they spent on their hourly rate. The issue I see I understand disclosure is important, but the problem is once you disclose to them what that third-party plan review fee is going to be, you kind of basically, what it sounded like was say, build it or don't. This is what the fee is going to be, but they've already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on plans, architectural drawings, structural calculations. They probably own the land already, and they're going for a building permit. So then you're going to say, well, you've already invested all these tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, here's the permit fee, and if we go third party, we got estimates. It's $30,000. You know, it kind of puts them in a situation where like they've already committed to it. It's like, well, now you just told me you're going to screw me. I mean, it's not any different than saying here's the bill afterwards, because they've already committed so much time. You know, I don't want to add layers of, well, we'll get you an estimate on what it's going to cost to review it based on your conceptual plan. You know, that's not going to be fair to the city.
Yeah.
You know, but often, but this bill does say if the plan review fees exceed the $3 per thousand, the developer is still on the hook for it. So the city's not eating anything. They're just basically using the developer's own money to review the plans. The city's not consuming any of their own resources in this situation here with this ordinance.
So I think we're getting into the weeds, because the only reason I'm asking for a hold on this is just because like it's something that will be developed into the new legislation that we passed with the fee schedule and the outlines of all of that. So that we're not really, I personally am not arguing whether or not the double charging is good, bad, whatever, what have you. I'm just saying, can you wait a couple months?
If current ordinance requires us to charge both the construction fee and any outsourcing charges, you can't develop a new fee schedule that doesn't do that. It would violate ordinance.
She's wanting to change the ordinance.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying. With the new fee structure, she's gonna bring new ordinances to you that correspond with the fee structure.
Okay.
Because the fee structures are in the ordinance.
But
We
if
have to do
I
both.
can't just change the fee structure, yeah.
But if we kept this on the floor for the 14th and we pass it as it is, all it's gonna do is you're just gonna have to like restructure yours when you present it. So
You
that,
have to change
We
this
can
one on
change-
top of it.
Yeah.
If she puts.
So it's just a matter of paperwork.
Comprehensive proposal
Right,
that
that I don't-
includes this, we
I
can
know.
ask that. If you have a more comprehensive proposal that includes this measure that you plan to bring forward a few months from now, we'll consider it a few months from now, that's fine. That doesn't preclude this from being passed now.
City manager, you have something to share?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
So I guess my question would be for Rachel, so in your preliminary assessment, is your plan to basically abolish section C, which it affords the city the right to charge for third-party plan review? Because I'm more than happy to abolish that ordinance and we'll just get rid of the whole subsection C altogether, not add anything to it at all.
I can't tell you off the top of my head exactly what all is redlined right now, because it is a,
spider web?
there's so much.
Because I initially wanted to abolish that language altogether. And then other people said, well, what if plan review does exceed the actual $3 per thousand? And I said, good point. So the city can only bill to the extent that they've collected, that fee. That was the intention behind this.
I think I don't want to misspeak. I think the way I have it, I think the way that I have it redlined is essentially that if for some reason additional fees are going to be incurred for plan review, which hopefully they don't, because we're amazing and that will never happen. And that we are taking what they have paid basically for plan review and application review and putting that towards any additional fees that may be incurred.
That's what
But
this-
then I'll.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we should
I've
pass
agreed with you the whole time.
it. We should pass it.
But it's gonna be like one ordinance.
So I guess what I'm hearing is, she's in the process of writing something that encompasses a lot more than this. We have this on the table now. She's asking us, can you hold off for 2 months because I'm gonna have it included in here? And if you hold off for 2 months, then we can just do it as one big package deal with a bow on it. But if we choose not to and we do it anyway, then she's still gonna make her proposal. It's still gonna be one big package with a bow on it. But it's gonna take just one little part in there where she's gonna have to nullify something and put it in there. Am I on the right track?
yeah,
Okay.
Councilwoman,
So, kind of in line with the way it works every other time, what happens to the folks that are applying for something in the interim?
Well, you see, I have a lot of self-confidence in it. So we're doing all of our plan reviewing.
Okay. So for the next couple months, this won't.
I don't have any worries.
Until it does, right?
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Well, our goal is to have it up by when? The end of June?
The end of June.
The end of June.
okay.
Terrific. I look forward to seeing.
So 7275, what are we going to do?
it on.
Rachel is going to have her new proposal by the end of June, is that not correct?
I'd like to have, my goal is to have the second reading be the second meeting in June.
Okay,
And I understand that might not be possible, but that's my goal.
Mayor, would you like to do a straw poll on this?
well, we could go,
You guys are voting on 14th regardless.
Right, exactly. Just kind of get an idea of which direction we're going.
I mean, it's on the agenda. Put it on the agenda. We'll see where we're at on the 14th.
I mean, I just want you guys to trust in staff, because it seems like if you go ahead and just pass this, you're not even trusting that we can even.
It's
Put this
nothing to
in there.
do with trusting.
But
staff.
it sounds like it exactly, Nick. You're like, well, just keep it on, we'll pass it now. I mean, you're not even trusting a word she said.
On the contrary, I'm delighted at what she's saying,
Then
but
hold
there's
up,
no
hold up.
negative. Tell me the negative consequence of
You
passing.
not trusting in staff, negative.
No, I'm talking about,
I'm just telling you.
I-
You don't trust in Rachel. She's gonna walk out here and go, why am I here? Why did I sit there and just tell you this? And then you go, okay, it's passed,
because.
because you're not trusting. me.
Passing this doesn't hinder her in any way from doing exactly what she says she's gonna do. If there
Well,
was
because
some
it's
rule that
trusting
you could only change this once a year, or, and she therefore wouldn't be able to do what she's working on right now, then I'd agree with you.
To
We
me-
should hold it, but
To
there,
me, this sounds like we micromanage staff, by you going ahead to make sure that we did it. By her not even getting a chance to bring it towards you. You already did it for her. Let her bring the ordinance to you and let us show you what we can do.
But at the, on the same token, I mean, I think it also shows that as a council, we're trying really hard to be fair to the community. And, you know, we came up with this long before we knew what you were doing. And so, you know, it's also a matter of, you know, trusting us as well. But I would also say, you know, I'm looking for, just like Nick said, I'm so looking forward to what you're doing. And I am not micromanaging or having less confidence in you or anything like that. What I will say though is, as this council, and it's not you either. You do know the last 6 years, we've had our asses handed to us over and
I've been here
over and
too.
over and
Been here
over
too.
and over. Finance, human resources, city employees, city managers, you know, police chiefs. It's to the point where, what makes me comfortable, I'm not gonna say us because I can't speak for them, but what makes me comfortable is that we have something that works, that is right in line with what she's doing. And she's got something that she's gonna bring to us that works and is right in line with what we want. And all we gotta do is make a revoke on June when you present it to us and we get it in there, right? So I mean, I hear what you're saying, and it is, please, there's no reflection on you or Rachel. I think I am just tired of being burned. I'm tired,
But
I
then
just
you're
want
just
things.
saying it right now. I'm tired of being burnt, so you don't trust that we're.
No,
gonna-
I'm tired of being burned.
Do you
because
understand
I-
what we're saying?
yeah,
though?
I
I've
do.
been here too. I've been burned. I've been here since, 30 years now. I've
Right.
been through it as well. So, I mean, to me, it's just like, you don't trust staff, we're gonna put it in, and then, oh, when you get it, then it's okay. I mean, understand what I'm trying to say
I
too.
hear you, and I don't want us to get emotional about it. I mean, to me, it's just, this is just doing business, you know.
I'm
we
just
might-
asking for
yeah.
us to give us a chance to bring it to you.
I will put a little bit of my feelings out there, is that the only reason I first found out about these bills when when they were first brought up, last year, prior to this,
November.
voting, yeah, or election, excuse me.
Mhm.
Was because I read the agenda. I pay attention to what, everybody puts out there and what gets sent to me and what's get talked about. There was no consultation with staff. And then the only reason I found out it was gonna be on the agenda again is just because I do my due diligence and pay attention to the stuff.
So your frustration is that you weren't contacted to even have a discussion about it?
That's part of my frustration, yeah.
But the other thing is, we also have to remember, Rachel's been here for a year. Look how
Has it
far
been
we've
here now?
been today.
Today.
Been a year?
Today.
Okay.
Oh, it is.
Wow.
Happy anniversary.
So, I mean, look how far we've come in a year with just her. Look how far we've come in a year with just Troy in a year. But all I'm saying is give us a chance and let us bring something to you.
So what's the possibility of just putting this, like, we're getting good at just tabling this bill for a while?
This
Let's-
bill was tabled for 6 months already, right?
Yeah, but do you know, we don't have just this to work on.
I
We
understand
have a
that.
whole building, a lot of things going on.
You're right,
We-
and unexpected things could come up.
But we
in the
just told
next
you we
couple
will
of
have it.
months.
We're about done. This isn't like she's just started working on this. We've been working on it for quite a while.
Okay.
And I know I've had conversations with you, Mike, about this as
Do we
well.
have any work product that council could see?
If I bring work product to you, I would have to explain it, because if I just bring you a piece of paper, you're not gonna understand, or you're gonna interpret
has
the
to
way
be
you're gonna
context.
interpret it, and then you're not gonna hear our context.
You're not
And it's,
trusting me, John.
exactly, just like you don't trust us.
Okay, we have a trust issue. going
Yeah,
on.
who wants to table that?
And,
Who wants to do the
um,
trust fall first?
But
And
we like
Rachel,
Jack fall forward.
and I understand where you are, because when Elliot left, he left bits and pieces of zoning stuff that needs to be done. And you've been trying to get all of that done in addition to that. I've been following all of it. However,
It goes along.
let's give it an opportunity. Show some faith.
Table for 6 months.
I didn't hear you.
Here's the thing, you guys vote on Tuesday, on the 14th anyway, and maybe we'll have something brought to you by then.
Well, you know, let's be fair, let's be honest here. We're not gonna table anything for 6 months. That ain't happening again. And, you know, so you guys say you wanna have it to us, what, by the end of June? That gives
We
you
wanna have
about
it
6
done.
weeks.
Read through.
Well, technically, the way the process
Okay.
works, you'll actually
Is
have
there
it
the
next-
possibility of us having some
You'll
sort of
actually have it
meeting?
in hand next week, because
Next week.
how we do our
Okay.
process now, you guys are well more informed than we've ever informed you on anything. And I'll tell you, you know, we're gonna.
So what happens is there's a delay in you getting the items, because we said that we would not give you anything that you had not seen, or the first time that you see it, you're not gonna be asked to vote on. So that's why we sent out the memo first. And so what that does is we send it out, the council meeting prior. So anything that someone is looking to bring forward today, you get the memo on it now, and it's gonna be on the 28th agenda. Like I just sent out the last memo, just because there was that gap in meeting times. So now I'm working on the next one, so you'll have that one before the 14th. So normally while the item is done for the 14th, but it's not going on the 14th agenda, because we want you to have an opportunity to review it, then it goes on the 28th.
So
And what
This
process on was
process
it?
is better than what we've been having.
Oh, for a long
Because
time.
usually, we didn't get anything till Friday, and we had to hurry up and read it over the weekend in order to have it on Tuesday. So this way, we're getting more information in a reasonable amount of time to review before it comes up on the agenda.
And so-
Try to get it
Get everything complete.
Right.
That would be the first time that you ever see it.
Will it be the first reading?
No, that's just the first time you see it.
Okay,
Okay, so basically, we're looking at, if we get it on the 28th, so we have a vote on this bill that we have on the floor on the 14th.
Mhm.
If we table it, we're tabling it for it would be presented to us on the 28th from her version. And then we would vote on it on the 11th.
mhm.
So we'd only be tabling it for
No, it'll be
But-
first reading.
First reading on the.
But
First
so
reading.
then it would
Okay.
be voted on
my,
that night.
my apologies. So it would be voted on the 25th.
Correct. 20
So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're looking at 7 weeks.
The first reading would be the day you get it.
The first reading would be the
No, in the
28th.
manager's report.
Oh, we're putting this in matters.
Okay.
Well, they,
Well, I mean, if they want it this way, we could bring it as the first reading, and then we can explain it.
oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to get at is we're looking
Because
at
we're gonna have 2
6
weeks.
to
of-
7
oh,
weeks. So if we look at this and we put it on the hold for 6 to 7 weeks, if in 7 weeks we don't see it, then I would want to bring this bill back to the floor and vote on the one we have here. Because 6 months or 3
Yeah.
months is not gonna happen.
Not gonna-
Councilman Cap.
I'll just say this, if we have some sort of meaningful work product and a firm date where the substitute bill will be introduced, I'm comfortable with tabling it for a reasonable period of time at our next meeting. But there has to be some sort of
Agreement.
work product and date, and then I'm fine with that.
And that's why I just pulled out that calendar. If we do it this way, like we're both saying,
Yeah, if
we're
it's-
looking at 7 to 8 weeks.
We can wait we can table for that period with some sort of work product demonstrating that,
In that timeframe.
demonstrating that it includes this provision. I'm perfectly fine with that.
And that continue to build the confidence of the staff and the trust.
I think it's
That's,
important.
I mean, for this item, like I said, the intent was so that you are made, or you are informed before you have to vote on it. You already know it's coming. As soon as it's done, I don't think for this particular item, I don't know that it's necessary to do the delay. As soon as it comes, you know, because you know it's coming, we can just go ahead and put it on the agenda.
However you
I
wanna
mean,
do
you
it.
got to put it on second reading. That's, to me, that's
That would
time,
increase.
you know, I don't, you don't need to know
I-
anything before
well,
first reading,
it
because
shaves
you
off
don't have
2
to make
weeks.
any decisions, and then you better.
You still gotta do some changes to the ordinance though, because you gotta redline it all.
You know.
Yeah.
Like the process is in place,
So,
the
like,
actual ordinance work gets done.
I'm all
Make a
for
mistake.
stuff.
So,
you don't-
But I wasn't ready until, to give it to anybody until the
You don't wanna
28th.
speed it up so much that you make a mistake or, you know, you need the time to get it done right.
Okay,
I mean, we had a meeting one time and it was basically employee staff time. And that's really what we've taken to heart on a lot of things. And that's really how we're presenting this. Staff time, time and labor.
Oh, okay,
It's not just the fee for a fee.
okay.
So
okay,
All right, so we're all kumbaya?
yeah, we all kumbaya, kumbaya.
Yeah.
Better hold it.
yeah, we-
You held my hand before.
Come on, Dave.
Councilwoman
Dave,
Castile,
Dave, we gotta do the wave. Come on.
Councilwoman Castile, you good? You good?
Yeah. I'm good.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay,
No.
I'm a request a motion in a second to adjourn.
So move.
Second, if we didn't know what.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you for a good workshop. It's 8:30.
thank you, everyone.
And Linda,
Yes.
as